this land, plundering our homes, harming our families, but threatening the bright future of Asarak. For too long they have gone unchallenged, and they have infested the very core of our society. We must drive these rats out. Now is the time for change. Now is the time for judgment.
Let me detect first.
Welcome to the asylum! From madness to freedom!
Stay on high alert. Don't let Havoc's lackeys escape.
Greetings, operators. Welcome to the Delta Force Break Season's mid-season update. Get ready to feel the beat. The Delta Force Alan Walker collab event is about to kick off. Mark your calendars for August 8th. Operators can visit the Delta Force official website, go to the Service Center tab, and enter the Redemption Center page. Enter the CD key to claim the PTR 32 Old Habits weapon appearance, as well as 8 armament vouchers. Starting August 9th, operators can also easily obtain it by jumping into activities on Twitch drops and other community platforms. From August 8th to September 22nd, we're rolling out the Double Beats Pass. Play Delta Force Operations Mode or rack up Warfare matches to earn awesome Alan Walker collab rewards for free. This includes the epic firearm appearance, QJB 201 Old Habits, and 40 armament vouchers. On August 8th, 3 legendary weapon appearance bundles will drop: Fur Trapper, Order Up, and Alternating Current. Once the event goes live, new missions will pop up every 11 days. Complete a set of missions and you can pick one of these bundles for free, up to 2 bundles total. From August 8th to August 21st, every Hazard Operation match will have a 100% drop rate for 2 collab airdrop crates. Crack them open for a shot at surprise treasure maps. Complete the related event missions to claim 10 armament vouchers. Don't forget about Warfare. New challenge missions will refresh weekly, offering a ton of rewards, including the epic vehicle appearance, Tank Blaze. From August 8th to August 14th, your weekly supplies for hazard operations are getting a major boost. They'll be doubled. That means you can earn a total of 6 standard gear tickets and 2 elite gear tickets. As for Warfare's weekly supplies, the first phase is loaded with goodies. You'll get 2 premium weapon EXP tokens, 4 intermediate weapon EXP tokens, and 4 Warfare 2X EXP cards, 1 match. But wait, there's more. Log in daily from August 8th to August 10th to claim an extra 4 2X merit cards, 1 match each day. Don't miss out. This is your chance to climb those ranks faster. Get ready. The KC-17 assault rifle is almost here. You'll be able to unlock its use and production by completing missions in the upcoming new weapon launch event. This August, get ready for the treasure hunt event. Grab your treasure maps and prepare to dig for some serious loot. Once the event kicks off, you'll have a chance to find treasure maps for your current location while searching in hazard operations. Just follow the map's clues to unearth treasures and claim your rewards. During the treasure hunt event, make sure to log in daily to claim a lucky pack. Here's hoping you pull some fantastic red items and enjoy a streak of good luck. This season is already halfway over, but the second half has more to offer. First up, new Arknights collab content will drop after the update. The treasure store is getting a refresh too, with rewards like the weapon appearance M4A1 Amiya, which you can obtain by exchanging LMD earned from event participation. Following that, on August 15th, the Penguin Logistics Supplies event launches. Play both modes to rack up milestone points and exchange them for armament vouchers, LMD, spray paint, calling cards, charm Amiya, and a host of other rewards. From August 8th to September 6th, dive into special event missions to unlock collab puzzle pieces. Collect them to earn a variety of awesome collab rewards. And here's some exciting news. Delta Force is hitting console platforms on August 19th. To mark this huge milestone, we're rolling out even more perks. With the console launch, operators can unlock the Skynet series, console-exclusive weapon appearances, by participating in special events. Log in during the event period, and you'll also be able to unlock previously released operators to ensure they don't fall behind. New recruit supplies are also available exclusively on console, offering limited edition appearances and a generous amount of growth items to help you gear up fast and dive into the action. Simply log in on your console platform to claim an exclusive weapon appearance, no strings attached. And don't miss out on our console membership rewards. PlayStation Plus and Xbox Perks players will enjoy even more bonuses. Plus, the Shiba Force Lucky Draw also drops in-game. This lucky draw offers 3 firearm appearances, along with charms, avatars, calling cards, and other cool personalization items. You'll be able to earn them by participating in lucky draws. That wraps up the main mid-season update content for the break season. Have a blast, operators.
Welcome back to the Delta Force Invitational Qualifiers. And if you were with us earlier, you saw that the EU regional semifinals brought all the heat, tons of action, and of course, a plethora of MandelBricks. But if you're back and joining us for North America, welcome on in, guys. I'm Spider Tiff, and I couldn't be more excited to welcome in my co-caster for the day. Absolutely crushed it over in EU. Vivid, man. So good to have you back. Based off what we saw in EU, what are you thinking here for tonight for NA?
Oh, I mean, really excited to kind of jump into the NA action. Obviously, myself being from NA, I was kind of looking at some of the players that are going to be playing today, and I'm a little bit more familiar with, I feel like, a lot more players kind of on the NA region. So it'll be interesting to kind of see them go head to head. But I mean, EU delivered on all fronts, so that has me excited to kind of jump into NA. I think me and Tip both took a little bit, a couple hour break, went ahead and got refreshed with some dinner, and I think we're both pretty excited to jump right back into the action.
Yeah, nothing like a little fillet to kind of hit the regain for sure. And of course, our chat, if you went and got hydrated, or maybe you didn't watch EU and this is the first time you're diving into the Delta Force Invitational Qualifiers, let's go ahead and talk about the format and what you're going to see on the broadcast here today. We kind of started with those open qualifiers that occurred back on August 3rd with those registered teams kind of advancing onto the regional semifinals, which are happening right now, live on your screen. We do have 2 groups that will be competing. We're looking for our top 5 teams to qualify onto those regional finals that will be happening next weekend. We'll see 2 teams from Group A, 2 teams from Group B, and then the next highest team overall will get granted that slot. But what's the end goal for our teams? What are they journeying towards? That Delta Force Invitational down there on the bottom right-hand side of your screen, which is a LAN happening in September in China, which is insane. So 12 teams from 8 different regions competing for that $500,000 prize pool. And I know, Vivid, you were talking about how exciting that is for the Delta Force community as a whole. But man, I cannot reiterate, that is insane.
Yeah, it's going to be absolutely incredible. We were kind of talking earlier today. We were like, yeah, I mean, jumping into the regional finals alone, that's going to be awesome because we're kind of taking qualifiers for each one of the semifinals that are going to be happening today, putting them into one lobby, and then those competitors kind of going head to head will create such a weird dynamic kind of in the lobby, right? But how about that's like tenfold, kind of taking teams from all around the world, 8 different regions to go ahead and throw them into the same match. That's going to be awesome. What the heck's going on today, right? How are these teams actually going to qualify to those finals so that way they can then qualify to that LAN event? Well, today it's going to be all about starting out with 1 million Technic alloy. Of course, we all know this is an extraction shooter. You want to jump in, grab as much loot as you possibly can so that way you can sell that loot and then upgrade your gear. Go ahead and obviously help you upgrade that gear. It's going to be 300,000 Technic alloy per kill. So those are going to be pretty important. But probably the most important thing about today is going to be the MandelBricks. Capturing a MandelBrick is pretty much the most valuable thing you can do, especially if you're able to do it 2 times. Any team that captures 2 MandelBricks will automatically win. We'll stop the competition there and we'll start to count the leaderboard for everybody else. Now, MandelBricks, they only spawn in games 2, 4, 5, and 6. So those are typically kind of like the most action-packed games there for sure. And just to make sure nobody is comfortable, or at least too comfortable, throughout all 6 of the games, or however many we end up playing today, operators can only be used 2 times per team. So, you know, we kind of hinted at this earlier. If I was playing in this competition, I've probably got about 99.9% of my Delta Force games played on Luna. So if I had to jump off of Luna in a competitive environment, I would be not so comfortable.
Yeah, definitely not. We were talking about the utilization of Seniva earlier. We'll dive into some of the strategies from EU, but we got to talk about our teams that are going to be duking it out. Of course, we're going to be watching Group A live on the broadcast here. Group B will be happening kind of off broadcast. But for now, we'll kind of take a look at this, right? AKA Black and Yellow, Serial Killers, Halal Enjoyers, and Ink. Unfortunately, Dark Empire would not be joining us here in the lobby, so we will only have 5 teams that you're going to see on the broadcast today. And a lot of the names that kind of start jumping out as teams to watch for me is going to be that AKA, that squad on the top left-hand side of your things. If you've seen a ton of the Delta Force show matches, or you've been on the journey throughout kind of everything that you've seen between whether it's Goj bringing the broadcast, whether whoever it is, 60 MG in January have been staples to the operations side of things. And I know, Vivid, you've probably ran into them multiple times.
Yeah, I mean, definitely have January is a pretty common fight. Used to kind of fighting him in the admin building on Zero Dam. I can think of a couple of fights that kind of happened there. So definitely going to keep my eyes peeled out for this team. I have high expectations, but that means everybody else does, right? Does that add a little bit of pressure to this team? I think it honestly might. But my eyes actually go over to Serial Killer's team here. And I'm going to maybe kind of spoil the alias here, right? Fireman Friend, a little bit of a friend of mine. I've played a couple Delta Force games with him. That's actually gonna be Fun FPS.
Wait, stop.
Known. Yeah, it is an Apex professional, kind of hiding himself in the mix here. So
my Pathfinder man. My Pathfinder man.
Excited. Yeah.
I'm about to DM right now. Be like, yo, Fireman Fred? Is that the alias? My man. Like, dude, let me just tell you, I've had breakfast with this guy out in Germany. Wow. And like, I would have never known that Fireman... I love that energy. Okay. All right. I get it. Let's keep an eye on serial killers then. We're not allowed to tell him this. Oh my God, you're spoiling all things Vivid, but Group B happened off screen. And do you know how many times I've tried to figure out if that what Big Boys was? And I can't ever say it normally. Like, give it a try, Vivid. Go on. Just let it roll off the tongue.
Yeah, because I heard you mention this team name earlier, and I was actually going to read it out and be like, how did you say that? Big Boys? It feels like they might have just
Hit
went
it
ahead
with
and
the
like,
Big Boys.
yeah,
Big
slammed
Boys.
their keyboard maybe and kind of came up with a team name. Not really sure, but I mean, Nikhilist, Mr. Pressure, Hungy, I've seen those names plenty of times before. Nikhilist especially has always kind of been in some of these tournaments as well. And then taking a look at SFC, I know Spades, I know Grim. I'm not entirely sure who Boss Dude 91 is. That kind of sounds like a name, kind of like similar to Fireman Fred, right? It might be somebody that I ended up knowing. They might have just like switched their name to something random right there to kind of try to hide themselves, but ran into both of those teams pretty often as well.
No, I'm tweeting it right now. Fireman Fred, really at Fun FPS? Like, that is what is that really what we're doing? It's totally fine. But I love that you called out Grim, Spades. Those are names I'm definitely familiar with. We've seen kind of time and time again on these broadcasts. But mind you, Group B will be happening off screen, kind of like we saw in the EU regional semifinals earlier. If we do wrap up Group A, we may dive into Group B if that is still playing out. However, Group B finished first, right? A team got 2 MandelBricks within 5 matches. That was done. That was dusted. And, Group A kind of went the distance. So thinking back to, do you think that we will see some of these teams like close it out? Maybe match number 4, get crazy, go pretty much flawless?
I actually wouldn't be surprised. I think one of the biggest changes from EU to NA is that both of our groups are actually going to only feature 5 teams. So I feel like that'll have a big impact on how the map kind of plays out, right? I mean, if you think about it, you are just competing against less teams. So technically speaking, your chances of going ahead and securing a second MandelBrick should be, I guess, theoretically easier. Maybe there's some weird way to think about that where it might be harder. But of course, we know how the maps are going to kind of be played out today. Starting it off early, Zero Dam is going to be match number 1. And I feel like that taught a lot of our competitors how the day was going to go over on EU, right? Kind of preventing the extract from happening with a lot of teams on the Zero Dam map. It's such a nice warm up to how the matches are going to go.
I mean, yes, it really is. But do you think that we're going to see conservative gameplay and people actually focusing on getting their asset value up to gear up for the MandelBrick rounds? Or do we see utter chaos? Because it seemed like a lot of teams over in Group B on the EU regional semifinals, they were focusing on just getting loot value up and extracting. And that's kind of why I felt they had a better chance on the longevity wise of making it into the regional finals, because they completely topped Group A on loot value. So if you watched the broadcast earlier, focus up. We've got an objective here, and that is to qualify for the regional finals in the NA region. So get that value up. Prioritize all things cash value or technical, right? My brain always just goes to cash, but also Vivid, MandelBricks. It's the double brick format here today.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely is. It'll be interesting to kind of see how that ends up panning out. We kind of saw in match number 2 of EU, nobody ended up actually capturing it right now. That kind of early pressure was alleviated. Not entirely sure if that's going to end up happening on NA. But yeah, I do love the fact that you're kind of bringing up early on those asset values. Because if we're thinking about the format in general, earlier we were putting a giant emphasis on, hey, listen, you need to go ahead and get 2 MandelBricks. That's how you win. Because we were only taking 1 team from each one of those groups. And of course, we did have that 3rd qualifying spot. But if we think about it, the fact that we're taking 2 teams from each one of these groups means that that 2nd place spot is pretty open up for grabs. And if you go ahead and assume that the team that's going to win it is going to have 2 MandelBricks, you can, you might be able to have 1 MandelBrick or 0 MandelBricks. And then your assets, they're going to matter in these tiebreakers, right? So I feel like the asset aspect of this has kind of increased in value, not only because there's only 5 teams playing, but then also because there's just more qualification spots available.
Yeah, I think that's going to be great. And then you think about what that's going to look like, because we're looking for 8 regions to send their teams out to represent in the Delta Force Invitational LAN in China. And we are just getting started. We talked about kind of how these are stepping stones as we kind of gear up through the process, but we're about to jump into match number 1 of the NA regional semifinals here for the Delta Force Invitational. And as you see, what we've got for our spawn locations, it's very similar to what we witnessed in EU, right, Vivid? We had 2 teams that kind of immediately found themselves straight up in admin. However, I don't see Slingbag moving, so I'm starting to think, did someone grab an early pick right off the rip since we're about 45 seconds in?
Maybe have a little bit of trouble loading into the game there is what I would imagine, because that's definitely a spawn point right there. But I mean, instant action coming out from HE, the blue team trying to fend off a push here. And this is actually a great push from HE, this blue team here, right? Kind of sneaking over to that truck to kind of prevent the other team from getting into admin. It's kind of a cheeky little spot, not a trick that everybody kind of knows about, but it didn't end up paying off. So serial killers, the green team, they are actually going to manage to get their way into admin. We kind of already saw it happen, right? Sling bag kind of being down means that HE, they're going to be only 2 members here, but serial killers are going to be picking up Saeed's loot here.
Okay, hear me out. Are there any other aliases on this team that I need to know about for serial killers? Vivid, like you've got the lore, right? When you throw an alias down, chances are, my research, I'm never going to find you. I'm just not. You're hidden.
No, I don't think there's any other hidden aliases that I personally know about. Some other people might be hiding a little bit, but obviously we see Fun FPS. He's willingly actually selected, Fun FPS as his name for the tournament.
How kind of you, Fun. How kind of you. Yeah. Look, I'm telling you, one of these days, after the end of this broadcast, am I going to drop down into a player's voice chat after it's done over and be like, what is happening in here? No, I'm just kidding. We're not going to do that. I'm serious. Like, we're just going to have a good time here because we're looking for qualifiers into the regional finals. And, well, mind you, we didn't really touch base on this, but we saw this in the EU region. And if you've seen kind of the Delta Force Global League, you'll know that our maps, we do have different caps. 16 minutes total for the match on Zero Dam. And, well, you're going to be seeing airdrops here today in this match. It's not a MandelBrick game. So about a couple different iterations, you'll see 2 different airdrops. And we talk about the ammo that you can get. You can later on grab an If not, you'll get some really high quality helmets and vests.
Yeah, absolutely. So those are going to be objectives to kind of keep an eye out for. Slingbag seems to have returned to the competition, so he's now joined his team over at the admin building. So this might be gearing up for a nice little 3v3, one side of the bridge to the other. I'm taking a look at the map though. Ink, they seem to be poised up in barracks, and if you've played Delta Force and ever pushed barracks, you know that a lot of teams can go ahead and get on that wall, right? Kind of head glitch over it and can be very, very annoying to deal with and kind of push. So might have to keep an eye on that. But HE here seemingly interested in actually leaving the admin building and not necessarily taking the fight across.
It's very different from kind of how we saw EU play out, and we really thought that was going to happen. NA definitely plays differently, but a lot of people are valuing their life. Now, mind you, we do only have 5 teams in this lobby, so you do have the opportunity to be more focused on that asset value and kind of gearing up for those MandelBrick rounds. You can see that we've already seen some substantial numbers on the board. Everyone's still relatively close in that gap, but just still keeping tabs on it. Not necessarily going to have any major fights break on out, but we do see a red item coming on in from January.
That is great. I did see the January's team. They were kind of sticking it out towards visitors, so they were there for quite some time, especially when it came down to the start of the match, so they weren't necessarily interested in making any early moves either. And Ink's team is kind of going to be in the same exact boat. They have yet to leave their spawn point of barracks, and I would be kind of interested to see where the blue team is kind of moving, right? HE's team, they left the admin building, they started to push towards barracks, and yeah, look at this. They are kind of, they're in the tunnels right behind barracks, maybe waiting for a rotation, maybe waiting for one of the airdrops to kind of pop on the map, so that way they can decide what to do based off of that. But as of right now, opting for a passive approach for sure.
Love that. And we didn't really talk about what we were seeing in terms of operators, right? A lot of people in EU, they burned Seniva early. We saw some knocks coming out early, but a lot of people were looking for those Stingers and Lunas in that mid round, right? But here you've got Stinger, you've got 2 D-Wolves, and I think that leans into the strategy of you saying being aggro, being quick. And as I say quick, we are just kind of anchored down, poised, ready, silent for a jump scare.
The map though, Tiff, look at this. The purple circles, they are making their way through the tunnel. This angle is going to be crazy right now. Ink's going to be walking right into the angle. Infant Baby with a great jiggle peek, but quickly followed up by Too Easy sliding out into the open. Somehow picks up that kill, gets the knock over onto Headshot. Now Ink's in the 3v2 situation and a hallway ahead of them with a Seniva at the forefront of this battle. This should be an easy cleanup for Ink. Goes ahead, gets the grapple onto the knocked body. That's going to go ahead and secure the 3v2 for the rest of the fight right here. But as you can see, the HE players way more interested in finding the disengage.
That was actually wild to be able to grapple the downed enemy and be like, no, he's mine. You're not getting him back. And that's such a denial of space and denial of being able to regain on your team. So the Halal Enjoyers will be down one player for the time being. You see, they've already kind of backed on out of the tunnel and have left Ink in there to their demise. But I think that was an interesting play by AG, right? You had Lacto that was kind of anchored down, looking for a really kind of solid play. Like, we are going to wait for these Ink players. We're going to take our initial shots. But those initial shots don't connect. And instead, you end up losing headshot.
Yeah, I mean, incredible play from Ink there, honestly. It shows a lot of discipline from that team because, you know, they've been around Barracks this whole entire time, and they haven't heard anything, right? No fighting. They weren't kind of close enough to the tunnel to where they would have heard them kind of enter. So kind of just walked around the corner there, was Infant Baby, and hit the jiggle real quick to kind of get some information. And yeah, it definitely was rewarded because they found out that there was a team kind of hiding away in there, and they did not run into an unsuspecting fight. Serial killers, I'm sure they're going to be happy. As we were kind of watching that fight, I did see an airdrop go down right in between the admin building and the containers over there. So I would imagine that they went ahead and picked that up, unless they were a little worried about getting shot while doing so. But as you can see, Tiff, early on, with 8 minutes remaining, these teams are already kind of creeping towards the extract. They're kind of setting themselves up to go ahead and fight for the elevator extraction point.
And this is where we saw a lot of contention over in EU and all the times on Zero Dam, even kind of looking over that airdrop, right? Like, hey, we know there's going to be two, and a little poking, prodding coming on through. Just wanted to see, hey, was that airdrop looted? Is there anything of value that we can maybe nab for that? And I think getting to the extract early and focusing on getting out, especially like serial killers, 2.3 mil, aka 1.5, like these are solid starts.
Absolutely is. And as you can see right here, too easy. He's going to be spotting the smoke that was placed to cover the cross from warehouse over into the extract. And I think that's going to be AKA. It's going to be that team kind of sneaking into the extract as we tune back in over to Lacto. The wrap around through the tunnels. Yep, they're going to actually find this res. Man, the game is very, very forgiving when it comes to getting these reses off, right? It seems like you would have to protect that body for an eternity before you were able to actually deny it. So they went ahead and able to find that res.
Ooh, we see one player. Looks like Johnner has already left via an extract. So maybe they sent out one player with the majority of the high valuable things that they've had, just kind of solidify the fact that they have that. Maybe two other players are going to look to kind of fight it out and see what they can do. Maybe go rogue and ruin the spoils for a couple other of our teams here.
Yeah, but we know here, okay, here's the crazy thing is that, you know, we have Ink obviously out here playing containers. We haven't confirmed it, but I'm pretty sure. Okay, as we actually tune in over here to see what kind of goodies we can actually find in the airdrop over here. We know that the is, of course, going to drop, and this is going to be Beige Trio, that yellow team, where we actually already saw a player kind of extract from this trio. So able to actually go ahead and pick up the airdrop uncontested is pretty crazy. I'm pretty sure this trio is going to be interested in taking the aid extract, because I would imagine that's how the solo that already extracted also got out.
Definitely. We'll tune in back in with serial killers. They've been finding some nice reds along the way as we have about 6 minutes or so left into this match. And you have to really start thinking about what that exit strategy is going to look like. You have everyone kind of up there in the top. You've got Halal Enjoyers now back up to that team of 3. You still have Ink up there dead north, and then AKA waiting for the potential on that extract. Now we know what fighting in those kind of very tight corridors up there looks like as you navigate into that. And there's a couple different ways to get up there, but we know that we will see a lot of action happening there, maybe in the final 2 to 3 minutes of this match.
Well, I mean, here's the crazy thing. Ink's team, AKA's team, and the HE team, right? All 3 of those teams kind of on the north side of the admin building. They are completely relying on the serial killers to actually pull the switch. That's how the extract actually gets activated. So if CK just doesn't pull the switch, nobody's going to get out through that extract. So kind of a lot of trust to go ahead and put into your competitors right there. And I'm not going to lie, I'm looking at it. And the serial killers, they might be leaving the admin building.
Look, I hope they don't pull it. I hope, right? But like, I don't think we've been on a zero dam, whether it was the Global League for Delta Force or here, that we haven't seen someone flip that switch. So it is a safe bet for AKA, and I love that they're doing that because then they kind of just can put themselves in a defensive position. But we already see the opening fires. Suryasha coming on in, fallen relatively low on the HP, but it's allowing crisp and fun FPS to close the gap on that Seniva and kind of just shield barricading forward, looking for a flank. Now, typically, we always see the stealth operators looking for that kind of flank position, but he does seem to have been found out. But there's nothing more finicky than a Seniva with his shield out.
I mean, the aggression here, it's completely conceded the idea of pulling the switch. As we see right here, Suryasha, that play is actually going to end up paying off as they find an early knock onto Slingbag right now. Now, serial killers are going to be in a 3v2 situation as Suryasha looks for a little bit of an angle right here, trying to replicate the jump. Does not find early success, but ends up getting it right now. And if we take a look at the timer left on the match, there's only a minute left to pull the switch. But that being said, the Ink team, they went ahead, they pulled the switch, while the other teams go ahead and fight, and Headshot trying to fend off the Seniva, but that's not an easy task.
Really not. Especially in this 2v3 situation, you kind of keep disengaging, and everything that they're doing is looking for these angles, and you still leave one member of the serial killers off on that cross, but fun here. Looks like we're looking for a knockdown if we can potentially get it. The smoke's going to provide the cover to dive out into the open line of sight. And we've seen some people threading the needle in terms of the craziest angles. And Suryasha looking for one of their own. But it looks like one player of Ink might potentially try to get involved here if they can.
Yeah, actually already did. Found a third party on one of those kills right there. And after that came through, Fun FPS went ahead and picked up, cleaned up. HG is going to be eliminated from the match. Ink, after pulling the switch, has now decided to go ahead and opt for the third party right now. But here's the interesting thing, right? They're kind of willingly taking this fight, but as we mentioned earlier, Too Easy, he saw the smoke grenade get used to actually cross to the extract. He has to know there's a team kind of camping inside of the extract. That's information that they should have. So willingly taking this fight, you would imagine that they're okay with not extracting.
A lot of people just focusing on what they can get in their safe box. And we know that there's some teams that have been stuffing reds in there for whatever they can and play for the MandelBricks, play for the long game. Baby B here. Looking for angles, not finding any toes. There's the peak. Talk about the timing on that one.
Yeah, great headshot to find right there. That could be the space needed to go ahead and pull this off. Ink, though, I'm not sure if he's aware of the player to the left that's behind the truck, right? Kind of exposes back. Now he is. The call is going to come out from his team, the Seniva. Opting to actually back up as Suryasha takes a peek and absolutely destroys Infant Baby on the opposing side of that. Seniva's going to try for the grapple, actually misses it, and now serial killers are going to be on the attack.
Hey, Fun down to a duo. Crisp and Suryasha diving around and jumping through, whips a couple shots. It's definitely a little windy and not going to win that engagement against Ink. Here's the deal, 300k per kill, and, well, you get all their loot.
Definitely a little windy is crazy, Tip. Yeah, I mean, the mouse was moving everywhere. The serial killers, they looked poised to go ahead and take that fight. But yeah, Ink went ahead, bounced back, and way to go out of them, right? Even though the opening pick was against them, they still were able to recover. And, you know, finally on the south side of the map, while all of the action has been kind of going on up there, they're finally opting to go ahead and take the paid extract. They, of course, went ahead and did some tasks throughout this game to go ahead and make sure that they had enough money to go ahead and take that one. But the question remains, right? 1 minute remaining. Again, I think the Ink team should know there's a team on the extract. So now what do? Do they, try to, run into the extract and take that 3v3? I mean, it's hard to push it.
I mean, they don't have a lot of time, right? They've definitely wasted. Now you just kind of have to haul over there, which doesn't really give you time to really scale a plan to be able to take down AKA, but they don't even know that AKA is over there kind of camping it. Like, you can assume that someone is up there. You should always assume that someone is on that extract point because we see so many fights surrounding this positioning. But how are you going to look to break them down?
I think right about now, AKA should hear the footsteps kind of coming in. So they obviously look poised already, but are going to be even more so right now as 18 seconds remaining. 60 MG is going to be in the front face of the fight for AKA right now as 10 seconds remaining to kind of jump on the extract. You would imagine that this trio is going to try to just jump on at the last second. 5 seconds remaining. The Stinger smoke is kind of set up to make a little bit of a snake towards the extract. Too easy. Is going to get knocked down. Infinite Baby is not going to be close enough. Ink, the entire trio does not get out, and AKA, I gotta say, shame on you. Camping that extract ends up paying off in the end for them, but man, I would have loved to see that team kind of get into the mix.
Look, I think what AKA wanted to have happen is they thought more people were going to rotate into that extraction sooner. 100%, right? Like, I wouldn't have anticipated someone waiting until 30 final seconds to make that play, because you think about it this way. You've already been on that extract. You have your positioning. But what happens is everyone that rotates on in there, not only do you get 300k technic alloy per kill, but you can grab their loot and then you extract in a perfect scenario, which is I think what AKA was gunning for. It's just unfortunate that it didn't pan out for them. But luckily someone did pull the switch for them at least.
Yeah, I mean, that was also the other crazy thing. They were completely reliant upon somebody else even allowing them to kind of get out. So, I mean, crazy stuff right there. Ink, you know, had a hard time kind of predicting that they were going to be over there. I did kind of call out earlier that Too Easy saw the smoke get used to kind of, you know, allow them to cross over to the extract. So I thought they should have known that, but after kind of wrapping into the switch room and having to pull it themselves, they probably thought, oh, I mean, we were the ones that pulled the switch. Nobody's going to be in there. We can kind of just go ahead and clean these teams up over here and then go ahead and walk onto the extract and get out. But did not end up panning out. And, you know, game number one kind of started out slow, but all of the action kind of unfolding towards the construction area.
Yeah, definitely. As we look through some of these replays, this is where things kicked off. You saw Halal Enjoyers kind of poised, ready to take this fight on to Ink that should have been unsuspecting. But let me just tell you, they read it so good and initially pick up a knock, and you see Halal Enjoyers kind of backing on down, then grabbing their third, and then finding this fight with serial killers, which Ink inevitably third party. So I thought that was well timed. This, you know, is where I realized, you know, that the weather on Zero Dam was looking a little breezy.
Little breezy for sure. I mean, you know, we're talking about all the action that was kind of, you know, making all that wind happen, all that ruckus up there to the north side of the map. But that Bay team, the yellow team, they definitely got out for free. Nobody kind of contested the south side of the map. They got the airdrop. And then, of course, match number one kind of concluded with a trio getting almost there, almost to the finish line. They almost kind of made it in with the smokes being their cover, but unfortunately did not cross into the extract.
Yeah, just maybe 30 or 45 seconds more is what we needed, but at least they were able to find some kills from the earlier endeavors, because like we said, at least you do get Technic Alloy for those kills, which a couple of our teams are going to have. And who knows, maybe we'll have some red items sprinkled out throughout their safe boxes, but a lot of math to be had behind the scenes to get things tallied up from that match number one on Zero Dam. We are going to cut to a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to have our first MandelBrick match of the day over on Brakkesh.
Greetings, operators. Welcome to the Delta Force Break Season's mid-season update. Get ready to feel the beat. The Delta Force Alan Walker collab event is about to kick off. Mark your calendars for August 8th. Operators can visit the Delta Force official website, go to the Service Center tab, and enter the Redemption Center page. Enter the CD key to claim the PTR 32 Old Habits weapon appearance, as well as 8 armament vouchers. Starting August 9th, operators can also easily obtain it by jumping into activities on Twitch drops and other community platforms. From August 8th to September 22nd, we're rolling out the Double Beats Pass. Play Delta Force Operations Mode or rack up Warfare matches to earn awesome Alan Walker collab rewards for free. This includes the epic firearm appearance, QJB 201 Old Habits, and 40 armament vouchers. On August 8th, 3 legendary weapon appearance bundles will drop: Fur Trapper, Order Up, and Alternating Current. Once the event goes live, new missions will pop up every 11 days. Complete a set of missions and you can pick one of these bundles for free, up to 2 bundles total. From August 8th to August 21st, every Hazard Operation match will have a 100% drop rate for 2 collab airdrop crates. Crack them open for a shot at surprise treasure maps. Complete the related event missions to claim 10 armament vouchers. Don't forget about Warfare. New challenge missions will refresh weekly, offering a ton of rewards, including the epic vehicle appearance, Tank Blaze. From August 8th to August 14th, your weekly supplies for hazard operations are getting a major boost. They'll be doubled. That means you can earn a total of 6 standard gear tickets and 2 elite gear tickets. As for Warfare's weekly supplies, the first phase is loaded with goodies. You'll get 2 premium weapon EXP tokens, 4 intermediate weapon EXP tokens, and 4 Warfare 2X EXP cards, 1 match. But wait, there's more. Log in daily from August 8th to August 10th to claim an extra 4 2X merit cards, 1 match each day. Don't miss out. This is your chance to climb those ranks faster. Get ready. The KC-17 assault rifle is almost here. You'll be able to unlock its use and production by completing missions in the upcoming new weapon launch event. This August, get ready for the treasure hunt event. Grab your treasure maps and prepare to dig for some serious loot. Once the event kicks off, you'll have a chance to find treasure maps for your current location while searching in hazard operations. Just follow the map's clues to unearth treasures and claim your rewards. During the treasure hunt event, make sure to log in daily to claim a lucky pack. Here's hoping you pull some fantastic red items and enjoy a streak of good luck. This season is already halfway over, but the second half has more to offer. First up, new Arknights collab content will drop after the update. The treasure store is getting a refresh too, with rewards like the weapon appearance M4A1 Amiya, which you can obtain by exchanging LMD earned from event participation. Following that, on August 15th, the Penguin Logistics Supplies event launches. Play both modes to rack up milestone points and exchange them for armament vouchers, LMD, spray paint, calling cards, charm Amiya, and a host of other rewards. From August 8th to September 6th, dive into special event missions to unlock collab puzzle pieces. Collect them to earn a variety of awesome collab rewards. And here's some exciting news. Delta Force is hitting console platforms on August 19th. To mark this huge milestone, we're rolling out even more perks. With the console launch, operators can unlock the Skynet series, console-exclusive weapon appearances, by participating in special events. Log in during the event period, and you'll also be able to unlock previously released operators to ensure they don't fall behind. New recruit supplies are also available exclusively on console, offering limited edition appearances and a generous amount of growth items to help you gear up fast and dive into the action. Simply log in on your console platform to claim an exclusive weapon appearance, no strings attached. And don't miss out on our console membership rewards. PlayStation Plus and Xbox Perks players will enjoy even more bonuses. Plus, the Shiba Force Lucky Draw also drops in-game. This lucky draw offers 3 firearm appearances, along with charms, avatars, calling cards, and other cool personalization items. You'll be able to earn them by participating in lucky draws. That wraps up the main mid-season update content for the break season. Have a blast, operators.
And we're back. Map 1 of the NA Regional Finals of the Delta Force Invitational are in the books. And honestly, this time we saw some differences here when it comes to setting the tone vivid. Black and yellow. A conservative gameplay here for them on Zero Dam netted them big results.
Yeah, it definitely did, right? Did not see them in the action at all, but we did see them kind of going for some of those objectives that we talked about. Went ahead and picked up that airdrop. They're going to be having an ready to go whenever they so please, kind of hiding away in their stash. That'll be a big question mark for us that we can't wait to have answered. When are they going to pull that out? Taking a look, though, in second place, aka Trio. Obviously, we kind of saw them picking up some of the reds that they were able to loot over towards the visitor center where they spawned. They kind of had a pretty passive game as well. They looted up, made it rotate into the extract, kind of held it down for a little bit, and went ahead and picked up some assets right there. But I think what's incredible, is that we saw those 2 trios kind of get out and extract, but we're kind of seeing a little bit the value that's actually in finding some of these kills and, even hiding away some of that loot in your safe box, right? Because Ink's trio, we just saw them not get out, but still only 500K behind a trio that did get out. That's kind of crazy to me.
I mean, you could say the same thing for serial killers, right? The only thing is Inc. won the fight against serial killers and finds themselves, you know, just one kill above them. So still relatively close comparative to what we were witnessing after match number 1 in the EU regional semifinals. But I would go ahead, let's talk about the matches, right? Because we did just come off of 0 Dam in match number 1. No MandelBrick. This is our first MandelBrick match for Brakkesh on hard difficulty. Now, here's the deal. Vivid, you remember how this one went down over in EU, right? Match number 2 might have been the most scrappy, per se. A lot of changing of the hands in terms of the MandelBrick being decoded by multiple different teams, constantly being stolen. So there are just some thieves in the night, and I hope that we see a lot of the same energy here in NA.
Yeah, I mean, of course, the first MandelBrick game of the day, we're going to see a little bit of scrappiness because teams might be trying to kind of get used to how the lobby is going to play out. Fortunately for our teams kind of playing on NA, though, if they went ahead and took advantage of the fact that there was a competition earlier today or even in past weeks, they can kind of, you know, go ahead and check those tournaments out and watch them and kind of see how they kind of expect it to go out. Of course, it might be different from game to game, or it definitely will be. But of course, back to the idea of the operators, right? We did see 3 teams actually use Seniva right there early on in match number 1. And Tiff, you were kind of talking about the importance of that when it comes down to the MandelBrick. So it'll be kind of interesting to see if these teams decide to bring out Seniva right here for the MandelBrick, or if they're going to kind of hold on to it.
Well, that's what I was thinking as well, but we obviously have already can tell that NA is significantly more different than what we witnessed over in EU. I mean, we have Halal Enjoyers, hot and heavy, blowing D-Wolf, right, in match number 1. So it just really depends on what we're going to see here with our MandelBrick operator selection. A lot of players probably want to focus on the Luna, your kind of main there, to get information, use those arrows, those frag grenades can really prove to be such a boon when it comes to maybe investing some of that damage over towards the MandelBrick decoding station or looking for some of those openers. Now, mind you, we do want to keep an eye out on that area in the Royal Museum. That is exactly where you will see that MandelBrick spawn. It is the same for all of us, but let's go ahead. Let's get into it, Vivid. Match number 2.
Match number 2, the first MandelBrick of the day. It's going to be a big advantage for any of our trios that are actually able to go ahead and secure that. But instantly off the rip, taking a look at the spawns right here, we're going to have 2 teams towards the Tower of Babel. It's going to be black and yellow versus AKA. And then we've got HE kind of on the outskirts over there, getting a spawn point in the middle of the map. And I can't lie, I see Slingbag. He's slow to move again. So we need to get some improvements there, maybe on the hardware. Make sure that you go ahead and load into the matches a little bit faster right there. But the Ink trio, in my opinion, is going to have the best spawn, right? They got the museum spawn. They're able to kind of jump into it early because that's where the MandelBrick's at.
Yeah, definitely. Get up on that second floor in 2.5 minutes. Next thing you know, MandelBrick is yours. You can see those decoding stations are going to be over at Blue River Hotel, Brakkesh Market, and Asura Camp. Now, I have witnessed this happen where people do go decode at camp. It is absolutely disgusting watching people try to make that happen because you think you can hold it down, but no, all heck breaks loose. Next thing you know, you got a third party from the helicopter and the NPCs themselves. We did get to witness the market earlier, which was a joy to be had for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And one little dynamic to kind of think about here for the teams in the tower spawn here. You know, all of our competitors, they have access to key cards, right? They're very, very cheap to buy on the tournament server. So as long as you did your due diligence and went ahead and made sure you had them, you have access to them pretty easily. So when you spawn at tower, you go ahead and use one of the employee cards to make sure you can skip the timer that it would usually take to actually get into tower. But that does reveal that you did so on the map, right? Because that little green icon will instantly turn gray. So both of our teams in tower should know that the other one is actually in there. So some information to kind of think about as we keep taking a peek towards what's happening over towards tower. But I mean, museum right now remaining uncontested.
Ain't no way we're just going to see Ink pick up this MandelBrick and run to a decoding station and everyone focus on... Actually, no, you know what? I'm going to back that one up because if you did watch that EU broadcast early on, you'll see exactly what we saw from No Recoil on that match 5 in Space City. What did they do? They went over to dormitory building and decided we were going to watch the decoding station, and that's how we were going to play, and it worked out for them, right? So solid strats all around.
Yeah, Strat's always going to be pretty important. As you can see, Articuno showing how sweaty he is. Probably going to be jumping to see if you can see any ground spawns that are actually worth opening up that room right there. So pretty interesting to kind of check that out. Look at the comp, though. Nox, Viren, and D-Wolf. All 3 assault characters. Not going to be having much utility in terms of the ability to lock down an area. But definitely a lot of power when it comes to being able to close the gap, whether it be, quietly or very, very loud as well. So they should be kind of looking to fight, or maybe this is one of those games where we're kind of willing to quote unquote throw away some operators, because I know January himself, he's definitely one that likes to pick up the Luna as well. So maybe saving that for matches 4, 5, and 6. But the MandelBrick has now been picked up by Ink, and they're going to quickly realize that there's nobody around him, right? The MandelBrick tells you if somebody's within 50, 100, or 150 meters, and right now they're going to have 0 stars. They're going to be putting a bunch of question marks up in the air because they're like, how is nobody around us? This is where the MandelBrick spawned.
Yeah, if that happens to me, you have to think about how scary that is. You do have to assume that teams did spawn down in the south or that new Tower Babel, right? So knowing that they're going to be some of the teams that take the longest, because what are you going to do? You're going to prioritize looting a bit before you see, hey, someone's grabbed the MandelBrick, let's go ahead and move on towards that. But this kind of opens the door for this team to go ahead, get situated, and they have no issues with dropping this baby down into the decoding station. And I was expecting, honestly, someone to lurk in some of the foliage here on Brakkesh, but we're actually going to extend on out a bit further from the decoding station and maybe anchor down in some of those lines of sight.
I mean, we've got a match full of looters here, right? He's paying attention on the side of the screen. I just keep seeing reds kind of pop up, right? That black and yellow team is implementing a similar strategy as they did in match number 1, kind of just keeping quiet. I saw them pick up the UAV drone, so that's going to be pretty easy to put in the safe box there. But yeah, I mean, as of right now, Ink, they've started the decode, and after they picked up the MandelBrick, I didn't see any movement on the map. It'll be kind of interesting to see if any teams are going to be interested in pushing towards the MandelBrick now. And it looks like Serial Killer at the bottom of your screen, the green team, they might be interested.
Ooh. I'm definitely interested. We saw what Black and Yellow was able to do in match number 1, focusing on the asset value and what they could obtain by extracting on out and even sending one player out early on. But as that time is starting to dwindle down, we have to kind of maneuver our way over there much more quickly, because just leaving yourself maybe a minute 45 to hit this engagement might not work in your favor.
Oh, yeah, this is scary, though. Ink was kind of set up in the building. They had 3 players over there, and that quickly is going to turn into a 2v1 as Zomo quickly showing out that the has been brought out, but he's going to be taken down. Infant Baby picks up 2 of them right now. Called on the cross is going to be Black and Yellow, and Ink picks up 3 kills very, very early on a team that was expecting to kind of push towards their precious MandelBrick, and they're going to have information now because one of them actually got knocked by the So they're like, oh my gosh, there's an over there. One of the teams kind of brought that in already. They're going to instantly want to push towards that and pick that up and be able to use that to defend the MandelBrick.
Yeah, my man, just simply better. That's how you clutch on up, and now we can go ahead, focus forward, hit the loot on those teams. Plus, you get the 300k per kill on that one times 3, so 900. And dang, let's go ahead. Let's hit the replay. Let's run it back. Let's see it again, because I love action like this.
Yeah. Going to be switching the POVs here, taking a look at it from the purple team here. Infant Baby just kind of getting the opening opportunity there, crossing in the open. That's never going to be advised, and the Viren Dash kind of comes out, puts himself in the open. Infant Baby clearly showing that the shots are going to be able to come in, but ooh, Serial Killers, this is interesting. They're actually going to start the Doctor contract, and what this is going to do for them is going to take all of those Havoc scavs that are kind of spawning around them. It's going to make them friendly. And these scavs are actually going to kind of path near where the MandelBrick is being decoded right now. So they're going to have like these like pseudo teammates kind of on their side. That's going to create a lot of chaos, going to create a lot of audio as well, and potentially open up an opportunity for them to go ahead and decode. But one thing that I don't think they've accounted for right now is the flank that's coming in from HE. And they might think that these are the scavs that they spawned in. The flank's coming in fast.
Oh, headshot is going to open the door, and look who's doubling down. Crisp and Co. They're trying to kind of use the strength in numbers. Lacto already down. Headshot gets a trade, picks up fun, and works with his teammates to absolutely break it down. A fantastic play there from the Halal Enjoyers.
You know, we saw Nox go pretty unused right now, but I'm pretty sure the value right there was through the absolute charge. The flashbangs came out, hit all 3 players on serial killers, and kind of tucked them into a corner, undoubtedly. Now Ink's looking to kind of get involved. They're like, hey, listen, we got to go ahead and defend this decode for only 5 more seconds. Let's go ahead and make the push happen, and that's going to be it. The MandelBricks extracted. Ink have went ahead and secured the MandelBrick, and nobody even took it from them a single time.
Yeah, that was actually pretty well, I say uncontested, but it's not even that. It was contested. They just held down fantastically against Black and Yellow, who initially made that push. And even though serial killers were trying to use the diversion, like you said, from that doctor contract, gets stifled by Halal Enjoyer. So Ink's just sitting back like, yeah, okay, look, if I just need 2 MandelBricks to end this one on out, might as well just go off the backs of everyone else. You're making this kind of easy for us.
Yeah, I mean, the late pushes, right? We even saw, like, AKA's trio. They were looking to get there. I mean, they made the play to do it, but they just got there late. A miscalculation from that trio, who was seemingly looking to kind of get involved, but ultimately failed to do now. And now the plan for the Ink trio, it might be getting revealed right now, as they sent somebody down to the bottom of the basement. They went and pulled the switch for the extract. And, yeah, I mean, why not go ahead and maybe potentially fight for the extract already? I mean, this match, we've got 10 minutes left, but a MandelBrick's already been decoded and extracts about ready to be taken.
I don't know what's happening. This is definitely different, but from what I can tell, the delay on AKAs, you have to think they spawned in the new Tower Babel all the way down south. And sure, you have about 2.5 minutes before the MandelBrick actually spawns on the map, and then plenty of more time until it's decoded. So you had time to get down there. So I think you're right on that miscalculation. So what's left to be had? Denying extractions, getting some of that value from those kills. You can see January poked, prodded across the way, and is forced to kind of go under the guise of smoke and hit the heels. Of course, you got Molly's incoming, and we're trying not to burn alive. Now we know exactly where that pressure point is coming from.
Yeah, I mean, Ink has so much control over both of the teams that are going to be right to the west of them. And you can see Gil's out. He's kind of get closer, right? He's getting a little antsy. He saw the damage kind of come out on the Alluru from the Molly. He wants to go ahead and get a little bit more involved. And sure enough, involved he is. The MP7 is going to kind of show why he wants to get involved. That close range weapon, it's going to do a ton of damage if you're close enough. And the trades are definitely in favor of Ink right now.
Ooh, Ink's taking some really good fights here, but we don't have too easy so it might be more difficult to take this fight. But we've seen Infant Baby B hit the clutch, and Killzall does take down January, which is going to be critical. Not unfortunately going to be able to pick up a second, so it's just Baby B last alive for Ink. Now, mind you, this is just for the extra kind of icing on top for 60 MG down thanks to Baby B. My man on one here with the Luna.
He's trying to use the shock darts to go ahead and create some space right now. No PKs pop. Gonna be screeching right now with a broken leg, and Articuno hears the audio cue. Here's the grenade get popped. Gonna play it a little differently. Tries to throw the disc, misses that, but he has full information right now. He knows Infant Baby is kind of tucked away in this corner. Articuno, though, being on the Nox, does not have a ton of utility to kind of flush him out. The swing comes in from Infinite Baby. Articuno staring at the wall. Might have flashed himself in the process, and Infinite Baby clutches up.
My God. Oh, Ink having these like really solid moments just like that. And for the Halal Enjoyers, right? They're going to be the last 3-piece squad on the map. And now that kind of everything's died down from the action, they just are like going to go poke their heads, right? They're like, hey, what's going on, guys? You doing all right? Maybe a nice little detection arrow to see what kind of information we can gather.
I mean, that's the scary thing. You're like, yeah, I want to be that third-party team, but they took so long to kind of show up. I mean, we saw the map at the start of the fight. They were pretty close. They heard the shots kind of go off and then didn't get involved necessarily directly, right? They kind of waited for it to subside. And now they're kind of interested in pushing towards the extract. They might be trying to fight it, but Infant Baby picking up another kill right there. Is going to get a knock with the arm. 2 ways to play this for Infant Baby here. He can push the 1v2. Might be feeling pretty confident after all the kills he's gotten right now. Or that knock right there definitely secures enough time for him to kind of play this passively. He knows that the two opposition, they're going to want to go ahead and secure that res, which is plenty of time for him to kind of just hang out on the extract and probably not get messed with at all.
Interesting. I'm like looking at our total assets that we've got. Of course, things will shift once we get to that overall leaderboard, but just from this game, Baby B found on out, but you know what he does? He gets out, right? He secures everything. Not only do his teammates get what's in the safe box, but he's able to get out with his life, plus a MandelBrick early on. And for this team, they're able to just have a solid, 5 or so minutes left just to make sure they can peruse all these downed players from earlier and just kind of pilfer that loot and just extract for, I'm not going to say like for free, but it feels free, right?
Well, I mean, I would definitely say it's free, right? Nobody left on the map right now. All you gotta do is have to pull a switch, and you can go ahead around the entirety of the map and loot up. And we were kind of pointing out earlier on that the assets, they're going to be a little bit more valuable, at least in my opinion. So the fact that they can kind of go around the map and loot it for free, hopefully they're going to go ahead and, take full advantage of that, find a couple of reds, and get out with that, kind of establish a bank for themselves. But back to the plays by Ink right there, right? Because if you were to go down a checklist in this competition of things that you kind of wanted from a game, I mean, MandelBrick, of course, would be number one. And then if you think about firepower-wise, you'd be like, oh, I would take an right? That's pretty high up there on the checklist, I would imagine. And with Baby B kind of getting out with not only a MandelBrick and then also securing the on the way out, they can kind of take that into the next MandelBrick. It's looking good right now for Ink.
Oh, they're chilling. They're having a good day so far. Imagine when we kind of go to Space City in the back half of our series, we hit that next MandelBrick round. They're like, all right, cool. Like, we did it with no issues in Brakkesh, and this is going to be just fine. But then again, you can get overconfident. That can definitely happen. We saw kind of the change of pace over in EU. Brakkesh was a bloodbath, and you move over to Space City, and then the first match of the day, we saw no real issues, similar to what Ink was able to do with the MandelBrick here.
Yeah, but I mean, taking a look at the left, right, assets obtained 5 mil right now for HE. So, I mean, that's definitely a good amount when you take a look at, how much value you can kind of extract per match. And, they've got 4 minutes to kind of go ahead and boost that up as much as they possibly can. Of course, we know there was a team inside of Museum earlier, so you would imagine most of the most valuable spots to kind of loot are definitely going to be hit. I would like to see them kind of, go towards, market and like bar and kind of pick up a couple of things there, kind of find some scraps around that area to kind of make the most out of the time. But, a hindsight for us, right? We're kind of watching this from bird's eye view. We know there's nobody left in the lobby, but they still might be a little weary about that.
All I hear is the looter brain in you just kind of churning. You're like, I would love to see them look for scraps over here. I think they can definitely do better. I mean, look, we're at 4 minutes left in the match, and you just have all the time and space in the world to look for whatever you can definitely find. I'm just kind of watching this loot value go up and up as we look to switch some things on out. And 8.2 mil, come on, just give me 10 at this point.
I mean, that would be a great start for them, obviously. Trying to push initiative towards the MandelBrick didn't necessarily work out for them. And, ooh, that safe hurts. I mean, double purple. We're playing hard mode right now. That one's not going to feel too good. But, we're working with what we got here.
Doing the best we can, right? Plenty of time in the world. Now, you got to think about it this way. If I'm halal enjoyers, knowing that I'm going to be able to gear up for those final matches, right? Of course, we go back to an airdrop match only in our next map on Brakkesh, but then you kind of move from there back into triple space cities. And if you are poised to be able to go in with weapons that you are like, I am kitted out, my ammo is great, like everything situated to just destroy your entire, well, you kind of need to take down Ink with the MandelBrick, right? Like, you need to destroy them and not let them end the tournament.
Yeah, I mean, that would definitely be the game plan for sure. Keep your eyes out on who's actually got the MandelBrick in the subsequent games. But right now, they're kind of finding all of the scraps from the fight that we kind of saw take place between AKA and the Ink trio right around this building. They're like, oh, wow, nobody looted this. Don't mind if I do. So they're having a good time right now. And they've got about a minute before they jump onto the extract. Now, I definitely don't want to have to cast over somebody failing to jump on the extract in time. So I hope to see all three of them kind of make their way towards the extract pretty quickly here.
You never know. You never know. Honestly, I'll just go dead silent and let you just cast over a failed extraction. That would hurt, but I'm okay with it because, you know, crazier things have happened here.
Listen, I mean, we've all done it. I've failed extracts a couple of times. I'm not afraid to admit it. Happens. But in a tournament, I would never do it in a tournament. It's weird.
Okay. All right. So keep your eyes out when Vivid jumps in to compete here at some point again. Make sure that he never fails an extract, chat.
No pressure.
Or else. But it looks like we're here. We're chilling. It would take a miracle to miss this one.
It literally would. But taking a look kind of how they ended up, you know, making out this match. Obviously, definitely the front runners in terms of value extracted from this one. 6 million in total for the trio. That's going to be awesome for them, especially when you kind of consider the lead that they'll have over the rest of the trios kind of coming out with that one. Yeah, they might be feeling pretty comfortable in terms of assets right there, but one trio is probably going to be feeling a little bit more comfortable. Ink, of course, extracting with the MandelBrick. They take an early lead here in semifinals.
Look, and this is like great, right? Sure, there's a lead, but if you think back to the format here, things are different between the EU region and the NA region. We are sending 2 teams from each of our groups here. So with them kind of focusing on getting that loot value obtained and going up a couple million after match number 2, they're just really trying to staple themselves into that second place position, and even so fighting for that overall highest on the leaderboard between the 2 groups, Group A and Group B, making sure that maybe they don't get top 2. At least they will have that tiebreaker in tow. Regardless, it's all about advancing into those regional finals as we check out some of those replays from match number 2.
A little bit passive from some of our teams throughout, but of course the MandelBrick did draw some action over towards the hotel area. Ink with an early decode set in, and you know, we kind of thought the teams would be all over it, kind of switching back and forth like we've seen all day, but no, Ink kind of found the position that was required to prevent that from happening. They went ahead and found the angle required to stop the cross from one of our trios, and then on the other side of things, a little bit of a inconsequential assist as other teams kind of fought and prevented each other from getting to that MandelBrick as well.
Yeah, look at this. I was actually really impressed with that fighting out of Ink here, and Infant Baby B investing some of those darts straight through, breaking that up, and even disengaging here. And I think you were right, as we see that from Articuno's POV. That was tough. That one hurts a little.
That one hurts a lot, actually. I mean, we kind of saw it from the perspective of Baby B, right? Kind of swung out and was looking at a player who was staring at the wall. And you love to see that, right? You're in a competitive environment. You kind of swing one of your opponents, and they're seemingly a free kill, especially when you're in a clutch situation like that. So a little bit of a mistake there. And maybe that's what's kind of showing, right, Tiff? We kind of talked about it. There are operators who these competitors are literally used to playing. There are operators that they are comfortable on, but this format kind of forces them onto operators they may not be comfortable on. So that flash right there from Articuno might be kind of showcasing that just a little bit.
Yeah, sometimes you just have little blips as well. Regardless, it's the time to shake those off and gear up for the future, because we do still have so much more action to come in the NA regional semifinals, but that will all happen after this break. to the Delta Force Invitational Qualifiers, the NA Regional Semifinals, and look at that. Group A, Match 2. Our first MandelBrick of the NA region has been captured, and with relative ease there for Inc. And not only netting themselves a MandelBrick, but 3.9 mil in assets. But Vivid, you know what my eyes immediately look towards in that assets? Halal enjoyers.
Yeah, I mean, HE, right, being the trio to kind of clean everything up towards the end of the match right there, going ahead and securing some of the value for themselves right there. And, no surprise, obviously, Ink's going to be in first place right there with the MandelBrick being secure. That's going to be the most valuable thing. If anybody's kind of wondering, oh, but, Halal enjoys, they've got more assets. How come they're in second place? MandelBricks are valued more right there, but still an impressive feat for them to be in second place with 10.5 million assets. That is a nice little comfort thing to kind of base your performance on right now. But I'm not going to lie to we kind of saw them come up with a big match right there. All three of them got out towards the end right there. It looked like they all had a sizable amount of loot, but I mean, the lead, they seem like they're actually catchable by like AKA, black and yellow. They're actually not that far ahead right now, as you would kind of expect for teams that went down versus a team that actually got out with all three members.
Nah, you can't be safe. You're not safe in any way, shape, or form. Even Inc, right? We go into, obviously we have match number 3 where people are going to be focusing on just assets and kind of gearing up for the later MandelBrick rounds. But when you get to match number 4, all it takes is Halal enjoyers to have a relatively easy match 3, grab themselves a MandelBrick, and next thing you know, we've got a new leader. The same thing could be said for AKA and serial killers. Look, they've been finding some nice loot potential. We just got to work with them on some of those team fights because they just keep getting flanked and outgunned in some of their engagements. Look strong in some moments, but we just got to kind of tighten a few things up. We still have plenty of matches to make that happen.
Yeah, exactly right. And now, we kind of talked about the pressure that it will apply to the rest of the lobby when one of the teams has a MandelBrick. Of course, we're going to be taking a little bit of a break from the MandelBricks in match number 3, kind of removing in MandelBricks for that quick match in between, and then reintroducing the airdrops as we did in match number 1, right? So match number 3 is going to be similar to match number 1. Of course, just played on Brakkesh, but I want the Inc team, right? We just saw Baby B at the end there get out with the Now, if we kind of think about how match number 3 is going to play out, we know there's going to be an airdrop. We know there's going to be an in the airdrop that can be secured. I want Inc to go ahead and go fight for that, because if you think about it, then they're going to have 2 and I feel like they should bring out one in a match of their choice, let's just say match 4, and then bring out the second that they could get from this match in a subsequent match if, kind of fighting for that second MandelBrick doesn't work out on their first attempt.
Ooh, okay. Vivid out here. Look, if you want to hire someone for a coach, maybe consider Vivid at this point. Because if we're going to be getting this mixy into the Delta Force Invitational, you better start getting some super serious about this as we look at our operator selections that have occurred over our first 2 matches. And for, black and yellow, they've definitely kept their picks relatively all over the place. Only Halal enjoyers have that kind of full burn on D-Wolf, aka have completely used up Viren, but plenty of choices to go for the remainder of our matches as we seek to have maybe another kind of burning of operators that we don't really care so much about, or maybe you don't feel as comfortable with, because we don't have to fight over a MandelBrick on Brakkesh.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like all of our teams right now, they're seemingly a little too comfortable. Of course, with the lack of a MandelBrick in this match, that could end up panning out, because these matches, they're meant to be about looting, right? Making sure that you can go ahead and pick up enough loot to justify bringing in expensive kits in the subsequent run. So kind of, looting around and everything like that. But I'm a little bit worried about the next time we kind of reintroduce a MandelBrick, because it seemed like all of our teams outside of Inc, who, of course, did actually go ahead and try to decode the MandelBrick, they were all, kind of slow to the jump. I mean, we saw what happened over on EU. If you let one of the teams kind of lock down one of the positions, they don't like letting it up very, very easy. But for now, match number 3 is going to be all about looting. Who's going to be able to find the most reds to kind of boost up their total assets?
I don't know. Serial killers had a ton in match number 1. We'll definitely see if they can maintain that position here in match 3. But as you get a look at the map feed here down in the new Tower Babel is going to be Inc and AKA definitely moving very quick towards the south side of things. Black and yellow all the way north of Hammam, and Halal enjoyers likely, they could really run into each other. They've definitely maybe sought others out, and quite frankly, if I'm serial killers, I want to get involved if I could.
Yeah, definitely. But you already kind of mentioned that the tower fight is going to be the interesting one. Only one door is open on that east side, right? So AKA, they only have one entry point in, but that means the Ink trio, they should know. There's only one way in the tower. They should have somebody kind of posted up on this door, ready to kind of fight any team that kind of comes in. And it looks like they are fully set up for this. They're not going to be peeking the initial angle. They're actually going to let AKA walk all the way in. And let's take a look at the comp right now. Nox, Deluru, and Shepard. Not a comp where they can actually scan anybody or any of these angles that Ink are kind of holding right now. So might be a little scary of a push.
I mean, I'm definitely nervous, especially with what we had witnessed from some fighting potential here prior. Ink, very familiar with fighting AKA, and keep your tabs out on them. We're just going to be more meticulous about this one, I think.
Yeah, I won't lie, right? I was kind of mentioning how it was going to be kind of hard for them to find information. No Luna, no Hacklaw, but 60 MG actually hit a great disc from the Nox right there, which ended up hitting one of the enemies. So they knew that they were kind of waiting around the corner right there as Too Easy actually pulls out the sniper.
Okay. We saw some good sniper shots over in EU and would love some more here. Utility going out, and for now, Easy just trying to get back into good fighting form. Still conservative, still connecting, still looking for that info.
It'll be a pretty hard push here for AKA as the Seniva gets close and personal right there, but the Yutu's going to come out. This is a crazy push from the Seniva. He could definitely get isolated right now. His teammates are kind of backed up. They took a little bit of damage. They're interested in healing, and sure enough, January finds the angle onto the Seniva.
How do we feel about that one, Vivid? Because I'm just sitting here kind of staring at it like, it's like that Harry Potter moment where you're like, no, Ron, no, like, what is it? He's gonna sacrifice himself. That's exactly what homie just did. He sacrificed himself, and it did not pan out.
Yeah, I mean, no util to kind of back up his spot right there, right? The space that he had kind of gained. I mean, I didn't like the initial play at all, but his two teammates kind of did not peek at all to kind of try to defend him right there. But yeah, definitely questionable shield play. Obviously, might be a little bit of hindsight, but I did call out that as soon as the util starts to come out, right, he's just completely isolated. They could go ahead and kind of find him pretty easily right now. So now AKA, they've got full control over tower in a way, right? Because they know, like we already mentioned, there's only one door open. So they know that no other team could actually third party this 3v2 that they could take. So I would actually feel pretty comfortable if I was them to try and flush out these other two operators. But already made the point before, it's actually very, very difficult because they're attacking trio in AKA. They've got the Nox, the Shepard, and the Eluru. Not the three best operators to actually flush out enemies, right? Pretty hard to gain information from that. So it might be a long hunt for them to actually find that duo.
Well, then if it's going to keep out that pacing, we'll turn our sights towards the north. Black and yellow on our screen. Kind of looking to see if we can get some angles on to Serial Killer. We were talking about potentially seeing some engagements on the north, but Halal enjoyers kind of hit a wraparound as they start their looting path. But for now, Zomo on the D-Wolf, kind of hanging out in the middle of the street here. You do have the potential for the giveaway courtesy of the heli in the air. Playing spoiler.
Ah, man, when you think you're going to go ahead and get a 3v3, you think you've went ahead and isolated, and then the helicopter comes in. It's one of the worst feelings ever. As we tune right back over into the tower fight, it looks like Too Easy's looking to take the head glitch right now, but AKA is looking to put on the full onslaught. January takes the first peek, first point of contact. He goes down. Too Easy now left in a 2v1 situation. 60 MG finds the refrag there. And now, Baby B back to have to clutch it again. He can hear the res going off right now. He's on Stinger, so not the best character to go ahead and actually push this. The nade's going to come in. It's going to force him off. It's going to do a little bit of damage, but the heal, it's going to top him off for sure. But, I mean, time is of the essence. The res is coming out. He still hears it. Can he actually find the pressure? Jumps out. Takes a little bit of damage. He finds the 1v1. He gets the knock. The headshots come in. He pushes the res.
Do I dare say that Baby B is just a clutch factor here, but not done. Not done. The peak.
Oh my God.
60 MG. That's that aggression level we needed out of AKA.
Oh, it was so close, honestly. 60 MG, as you can see right there, take it down to almost 50 HP. Honestly, incredible stuff from Baby B, right? Definitely, you know, you kind of mentioned it in the midst of that. It just seems like he's very, very composed in those clutch situations. We've already seen him do it, but kind of putting himself in another position that looked favorable for quite some time. And, you know, as I take a look towards the north side of the map, we did actually miss one of the fights that went down. Serial killers are no longer with us, so they must have gotten into an engagement and they did not win it.
Yeah, that's really tough, honestly. And I would imagine kind of what we were witnessing. Let's go ahead. It's got to be black and yellow, right? The last we saw, we were on board with them. They were staring, looking for an opening, right? So let's go ahead. Let's hit a replay and check into the engagement that we had missed.
This is going to be too easy. Once again, finding the initial frag there. Baby B kind of forced into the corner. 60 MG is going to hear the audio cue that the player's kind of tucked away there. Simple jump swing is going to make the difference as we tune it back into black and yellow up here towards the north side of the map. You know, we've kind of seen them loot a bunch, and we haven't necessarily seen them get too involved. I'm pretty sure the engagement that we missed happened up here to the north was actually between serial killers and black and yellow. As you take a look towards the bottom left, right, we see Zomo has 2 kills and the Hacklaw has 1. So they were definitely involved in some sort of engagement over there. As we, you know, we did see when the helicopter came in earlier, right? We called that out, Tiff. They were kind of eyeing each other down.
They had some eyes. They had some intentions of really converging there on that fight. And we did see Zomo kind of in the middle of the road toying with some angles, but in the distance you see Headshot kind of running towards that airdrop and hoping that he can find something of value there for the teams. As you look at the assets obtained between the squads, 2.6 mil, 2.1 mil, and just shy of a mil for the Halal enjoyers. But after what we had witnessed in some prior matches, like, we're just on the up and up, right?
Definitely kind of minding their way around the map, right? They haven't taken a fight yet, and I would imagine taking a look at how they're kind of rotating through the map right now, their eyes are probably set on the airdrop that's going to be down in the road right in front of them, as they've already went ahead and picked up the helicopter loot if they went ahead and downed that and took out the 2 pilots. So I'm going to be getting their hands on the airdrop. Tiff likes to go ahead and call out my looting brain. So I hope that we get to see them actually loot this airdrop. I'm going to see some big reds pulled here.
Oh, look. Get us involved. Get us into the airdrop. I'm so curious to see something insane. And look, just kind of throw your Saniva out there. Sling bag here. Chilled on out. Don't mind me. Nothing to see here. Just casually searching for some supplies, and well, you do see kind of that armor coming on in, a couple of golds, and overall nothing too crazy, right? You were talking about that that we were looking for that is going to be in the second airdrop of the match, and I believe it comes in at about 12 minutes into it, so just 2.5 minutes to go before that one drops.
Yeah, but again, an uncontested little bit of loot there for HE. We're kind of seeing the impact of only having 5 teams on the map. I feel like it was a lot harder for some of our teams to kind of rotate around. I mean, that's pretty obvious, right? If you have another team on the map that's kind of controlling some portion of it, then it's going to be harder to kind of find some of these rotations and get away with some of the free loot that we're kind of seeing on NA over here. But as I'm saying that, we have black and yellow who is following the path that Halal enjoyers just took. And we could be having another 3v3 on our hands very shortly.
All right. Well, I mean, give it to us, right? We love some action here on main, and black and yellow after that initial engagement with the serial killers are definitely feeling like they're ready to brawl on out. And I think it's time to maybe stifle some of the momentum that Halal enjoyers has had from their looting over the past 2 matches.
Items needed for the operation.
Yeah, and there it is. The audio cue that the airdrop is going to be floating down just went off. So it looks like I'm seeing HE kind of sprint towards an area of the map right now. I would not be surprised if they kind of took a peek up in the sky. They saw where the airdrop was kind of floating down, and now they're kind of in an all-out sprint to try to go and control the area. And on the back foot of them kind of moving locations here, black and yellow team, they might have missed their timing.
Does seem to happen quite a bit here in operations for competitive Delta Force. It's just a couple of seconds that really make or break everything.
Looking for anything, right? Is like, man, I know you guys were around here. You're not here anymore. Where could you have possibly have went? Looking all around, trying to make sure that they check their corners, but I mean, this area is scary. I don't necessarily find myself over in this area too much because, well, you know, not a lot of loot, a lot of spots to kind of hide and catch me off guard. I don't really like to dabble in areas like that.
You feeling uncomfy with this one?
Yeah, and you can see, I think they are too, right? Crouching around, being nervous.
Definitely about expecting the unexpected and halal enjoyers as they situate themselves right underneath this airdrop. Let's see if this is going to provide some booms. There it is, in hand, and hello, ammo. You love to see that one come on through. If I'm not mistaken, I think they get 10 bullets from this airdrop, and you unfortunately cannot put them in your safe box. So extracting here will prove to be such importance.
Yeah, but I like the fact that you kind of bring up the extraction because we have 7 minutes remaining. Now, you know, we do have some options available in terms of the backpack extract. 1 slot is available there. So HE, they might say, oh my gosh. Everybody pause. Everybody pause.
We're paused.
January in a tournament setting has just been knocked by the crocodile.
You know, it's fine. Right?
It's going to provide 0 impact to the actual of, you know, how the leaderboard and how this tournament is going to play out. But are you kidding me? Come on,
I think we run it back.
Mistake.
I mean, look, I don't know if you guys have seen Happy Gilmore too, but you know in the original Happy Gilmore that crocodiles, they are scary. They take things from you, okay?
Listen, I may know a guy who's been taken out by the crocodile before, once or twice, so...
Yes, Vivid, tell me more, because why do I feel like this is a little self-reflecting?
You know, it's actually not. It's actually
Ooh, okay.
Great fan Poach. I think so in a watch party right now. He's probably going to hate me for this, but he's definitely been taken out when there's like, you know, about a minute left, right? He's feeling comfortable. He's like, oh, you know, I'm going to go ahead and take the dog tag extract. Just kidding, crocodile. Boom. Yeah, I mean, it's happened.
Hey, we're talking about all the interesting things that we've been witnessing here in NA, and it has been such a joy. But hey, if they can get out with some cash, sure. Ego's in check. It's fine. Everything's fine.
All right, back to the point I was making. Thanks, January, for kind of interrupting my point there with your negligence with the crocodile. Lacto is going to be selected as the one that's going to be allowed to go ahead and take the backpack extract. Now, for anybody at home kind of watching, of course, you have to unequip your backpack to actually take that extract. And there's only one available on hard mode, so they're only going to send one of their teammates through. I'm sure they went ahead and dropped all their loot to him, including the So now Sling Bag and Headshot, they're going to be looking to maybe deny some extracts that are inevitably going to kind of come in towards the center of the map at the new Tower of Babel extract after, you know, hopefully somebody pulls the switch here. They've got about a minute to do that. Yeah, it's just going to be all about denial. See if they can kind of prevent anybody from extracting and maybe sneak onto the extract themselves.
Ooh. Well, tabs on that. See who's going to be able to get on out of it. I know those are just total assets on the left-hand side of things, but we know just how close everything is coming down to it. But it's going to really be make or break when we move back onto that MandelBrick match as we move towards Space City. You can see the halal enjoyers out there just towards kind of the northwestern side of the screen. And back and board with John are no kills for the match, but Zomo and guys have some, thanks to serial killers early on.
I'm picking up a little bit of a pattern here in terms of, you know, playbook for the black and yellow team. I feel like every single time we kind of tune in, they're pretty comfortable holding down a certain area of the map, and there's going to be 4 seconds left before the extract needs to be pulled. Okay. Am I crazy? No, I'm not crazy. Nobody pulled the extract.
Why do I feel like AKA is putting so much faith in other teams?
Well, AKA is actually the one in the power position here because they actually opted to not pull the extract. And the reason why they did that is it's actually pretty smart now that I think about it. They're going to submit 2 dog tags right here at the single extract. And they're actually going to be able to fully loot up one of their players. And the interesting thing about this solo extract is that it's not like the other one, right? How we mentioned, oh, there's the backpack extract where you have to drop your backpack. This one, you can leave fully looted. Only one person can take it, but you can have a full backpack. So they're going to go ahead and put all of the loot onto one player here, which is going to be 60 MG. And then, yeah, they basically prevented the rest of the lobby from getting out by doing this. They didn't pull the switch.
Look, hey, gotta do what you gotta do. And if they're gonna make sure that you get everything onto one player, I think that's a solid maneuver. So sometimes just think about yourself. That's all you gotta do in the invitational here for the qualifiers. So dang, AKA outsmarting the majority. Oh, bone saw action. That might have came in handy there with the crocodile early.
Yeah. Obviously, you don't bring a gun to fight a crocodile. You bring a bone saw.
100%. We've learned that from the many things that I've watched on TV. No, I'm just kidding.
All right, so now obviously we're kind of in limbo here. These 2 minutes, nobody can kind of extract anymore. So obviously the only value that can be found has to be put in the safe boxes and or kills. And right now, actually, black and yellow, they're on a flank right now. Did they get a little bit of a glimpse of January leaving the tower? I'm pretty sure they're also going to see Articuno, and sure enough, Zomo catches Articuno on the cross. That's going to be plus 300,000, plus any loot that he can kind of shove in his safe box from Articuno right there. And Joner, quick on the hunt. January is going to be crouching, trying not to make any noise, but I'm pretty sure he just did. Did he not? Joner pulls out the gun, swings January, and wins the gunfight convincingly.
The only unfortunate part about this is you gotta think they just gave all of their loot over to 60 MG who took the extract. So we are gonna be finding just like kind of some remnants of whatever the scraps they had left.
Yeah, you know, but when life gives you lemonade, they're not necessarily making sweet lemonade right now. Maybe they're making, you know, some no sugar lemonade or something like that. But they're making lemonade of sorts, trying to make the most out of the situation that they were put into here.
Hey, whatever happens, if you could take their ammo, sure, that's great. You love to see that kind of mostly being what's included in the safe box. So regardless, we just gotta get that value from the kills. And if you're black and yellow, you want more, right? The halal enjoyers, they still have 2 players left on the map, and you can see kind of thanks to this free cam shot where they're situated over at Royal Museum, but I don't even know if they're actually going to ever contend with each other because we are at 35 seconds. Maybe just like stand up on the highest position you can find and stare at each other and scream, hey!
Yeah, I mean, obviously the strategy here for halal enjoyers is they're going to kind of prod fun here. They're like, hey, we pulled the extract. And yeah, the little wave comes out from headshot right there. Obviously extract's not going to do anything but kind of announcing to the rest of the lobby, hey, we're kind of down here just messing around. But the extracted value from HE has kind of been quite high, right? As you can see, 4 mil kind of obtained right there. We already saw one of their players get out through the backpack extract. So, you know, without all like 20 of the backpack slots, still was able to kind of get out with a pretty penny right now. But they're definitely playing the asset game as it currently stands.
Someone has to, right? Especially if this thing potentially ends after match number 4 with someone already on win condition. You have to think if there are 2 teams that are going to be advancing from each group, if you play the long game, you grab the asset game, this kind of guarantees yourself a slot into the regional finals that are going to be happening next week, Vivid.
Yeah, definitely. It'll be interesting, right? And a quick reminder before we jump into the rest of the matches right now. top 2 from group that we're watching right now, and the other group that's kind of happening behind scenes will end up qualifying, and then a 5th team as well after we combine the 2 leaderboards of the unqualified teams from both groups. Whoever kind of has the most value right there. Obviously, we did see one of the biggest plays of the match towards the tower between AKA and Ink. Definitely a great fight there, as we do catch a quick glimpse into what actually happened between serial killers and black and yellow towards the north side of the map.
Yeah, I thought that was an interesting way to kick things off, but then we kind of keep on moving through, right? Slingbag here, popping over onto the airdrop, getting all the goodies. And then January. God, we got to relive that moment, man. I'm like, sir, it is 9 p.m. Eastern time over here, and I'm watching you get mauled by a crocodile. Is that really what's happening here in the regional semifinals? Yeah, I guess it is. I guess it is.
You know, January, you know, he's a good guy. Obviously comes and, you know, always kind of joking around and everything like that. And he streams sometimes too, and I want all of his community to make sure that he does not forget that moment. I want to make sure he is constantly reminded of the crocodile incident.
Clip it, ship it, send it straight on over to him. And hey, who knows? Maybe when he streams, it can be like an alert, right? You get a subby and you're
Yeah,
like,
there you
oh
go.
my God, the moment comes on up regardless. All joys, all smiles as we're looking for our top teams from Group A. And I love that you highlighted that Group B is kind of duking it out off screen, but we will kind of come in with some updates here and now to talk about where they have kind of ended up on the leaderboard, because you're right, we are going to combine them at the end of the day and look for the total asset value and who's going to be our last slot into the regional finals. But while that math is all being obtained, we are going to cut to a quick break before we jump into another MandelBrick round. Welcome back to the Delta Force Invitational Qualifiers for the NA Regional Semifinals. Things have been getting pretty mixy all day as we just wrapped up our third match of the day. Now, while we wait for those scores, Vivid, I don't really think too much is going to change. I'd imagine things are going to be relatively close, but all eyes are going to be set on to match number 4 when that MandelBrick reappears.
Yeah, I mean, I'm super excited to get back to the MandelBrick games. I feel like everybody was so comfortable kind of taking their own portion of the map right there, making sure they picked up as much loot as possible. And we even saw a bunch of strategies implemented throughout that game right there, kind of preventing other teams from extracting, not necessarily taking that many fights. I want to see these teams kind of be forced to fight. And the MandelBrick is something that will definitely, influence them to go ahead and take some of those fights that I'm talking about.
Yeah, I think so, right? Especially if you're gearing up to fight for that MandelBrick. Not only that, though, we're reintroducing a new map. If you saw the EU broadcast early on, we ended our matches on that Space City triple, right? So we'll have that kind of be the same motto for the next 3 games. And if the first one doesn't pan out for you, well, let's hope it doesn't go Ink's way, because they did be the ones getting that MandelBrick in match number 2 of the day. So it puts them on win condition. And if this whole tournament ends right now, you are going to have your in total asset value stifled, and knowing that Group B could be potentially going the distance, you're really fighting against them as well.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. There's a lot going on for our competitors to kind of think about. Hopefully, obviously, the leaderboard is one thing that they do want to keep in mind. But right now, I would imagine that they're all thinking about game number 4, right? How can we give ourselves the best chance to go ahead and not only secure the MandelBrick, but then at the same time prevent Ink's team from going ahead and picking up the second MandelBrick? Although there would be kind of an interesting strategy to, employ here. Obviously, Tiff, I've been kind of making all of these crazy strats as we've kind of been going throughout the day. Hear me out here. There's 2 spots, in Group A. Obviously, if you get first, you're going to go to the finals next weekend. If you get second, you're going to go to the finals as well. So if you're in second place right now, based off of assets, maybe you let Ink go ahead and decode the second MandelBrick. The match ends. You're in second place after that. Boom, you qualify.
I do like that. I do like that as well. But also, yeah, that's true. Everyone else in the lobby is not going to like you, especially when we're looking for that last team, that next highest value team between Group A and Group B. The rest of Group A is basically punching the air like, dude, what the heck, man? What were you thinking? We're basically watching you kind of help Ink go for that. But regardless, there was no contention to them doing it in match number 2, right? They were able to just grab it. They had a favorable spawn just outside of Royal Museum where the MandelBrick essentially shows up in 2.5 minutes. And they were like, what do you mean my threat level doesn't exist? What do you mean no one's here? Are we really just going to be able to waltz right into this? They took an easy fight that occurred within 30 seconds to go of the decoding. And next thing you know, they're like, hey, we did it. There's no way that is going to happen on Space City though, right? Right?
Well, I mean,
right?
we actually saw it happen earlier where a team literally walked up and then walked over to the Decode and nobody did anything about it. So yeah, that better not happen on NA or I'm going to be very, very upset. But I mean, honestly, speaking about that kind of happening, it happened in match number 2. We kind of watched the team kind of pick up the MandelBrick and then went kind of uncontested throughout the Decode. Our teams were just a little bit too slow to kind of show some presence toward the Decode. But you know what? Heck, the Decode. I want some initiative to be taken. We all can see where the MandelBrick kind of spawns on the map. It's about 3 minutes before the MandelBrick is even activated, before anybody can kind of pick it up. That's some time for you and your team to kind of get close to the MandelBrick, kind of set yourselves up in some sort of spot to prevent a rotation out from the MandelBrick spot, or somehow kind of set up on one of the decode stations. Don't just let these teams kind of pick the MandelBrick up for free. You need to stop them kind of at the source, is my take on it. Now, obviously easier said than done. There's a lot to worry about to actually make yourself a rotation towards one of the spots that actually proves favorable in doing so, but it just feels like nobody's really trying to take some initiative right now.
You heard the call outs coming from Vivid there at the end. Take some initiative, get in the mix. We want to see some action here because we know what a brawl we saw on Brakkesh for the EU regional semifinals, right? We knew things were going to get wild and we were kind of hoping that precedence was going to follow here over to NA, but it has been anything but thus far. Very cautious, some good engagements and maybe some solid fights, whether or not they've been kind of just hey, we're going to play real low here. Let that team walk up and we're going to completely pounce on them. Okay, look, that's great. We love that energy. But I want to see multiple people fighting it out on Space City for this MandelBrick. I want to see it changing hands, coming down to the very end of it. But before that, you know, we've really got to think about the long game. It could end here. It really could. And then we don't know what's going on in Group B because that's happening off screen. And I'm like, are we going the distance over there as well? Or are they going to end in 4?
Yeah, and one thing that I want to keep my eye on here, right, it's going to be the I feel like we can see some incredible shots kind of made with that thing. I feel like in EU, I don't really remember anybody kind of finding it to be that effective. I don't even think whether or not they even ever brought it out in one of their loadouts. But right now, we are aware of 2 teams, right? Both arms are in the possession of Ink's team and then HE's team, Halal Enjoyers, right? So that's going to be the purple team and the blue team. Now, obviously, for match number 4 here, the big question mark for me is how much are they going to invest in some of these loadouts? Now, obviously, depending on how the matches go, we could have to play 3 more. And, you know, maybe the risk of investing a huge loadout into the first one when you might have to play some consecutive ones after that. Maybe our teams are thinking, I don't know if I want to do that. But you know what, heck, I can't keep calling out our teams to do a little initiative and then kind of back up the idea that they could be a little passive with their loadouts. Bring out both the Yoms. I want both of the teams that have one to bring them out.
Bring them out, bring them out, bring them out. I'm ready. Look, it's going to be an exciting time as we sit here waiting for match number 4. Our 5 teams probably just kind of on edge, ready to get into some things. And I think the majority of them probably did peruse that EU broadcast that happened just a few hours ago. And if you at home are wondering what the heck we're talking about, right? We love VODs, right? They're always going to be up as we kind of set our sights onto the regional finals that are going to be happening next weekend. So make sure that you're up to date on all things that have happened. Follow your storylines. Maybe your favorite competitor is actually competing here, started in the open qualifiers and have kind of worked their way closer as we set our sights onto that Delta Force Invitational happening in September, right? $500,000 Vivid and in China on land. So you really get to like staple yourself into the Delta Force competitive history books.
Yeah, that would be awesome, right? But hey, listen, obviously a trip to China, that's going to be all good fun. The opportunity to compete for $500,000, that's great. But we do have to get through this weekend first, right? You do have to make sure you make yourself to at least the finals, and that's where our teams can actually go ahead and secure some spots to make sure that they book themselves a plane ticket on that trip over there to China. But that's going to be very, very interesting. I can guarantee you, Tiff, that at bare minimum, I'm going to be definitely watching the finals that are be going on next weekend, and then I'll definitely be tuning in to the LAN event that's going to be happening in September as well. Because listen, the games today, they've been fun to kind of watch, and it'll be awesome to see not only all best teams on the region kind of go head to head in the finals, but then, oh my gosh, all of the best teams from 8 different regions. That should be a very stacked lobby.
It should be, honestly. And I love how I'm just such a dreamer over here. I'm like, oh my gosh, like you think of the future because we're talking about September, like it as if it isn't next month, right? It is literally just underway. And you know what else is? The scores right here. We've got them available for you. Let's see what happened in match number 3, aka kind of going up after that brawl with the crocodile. Nice 4.5 mil, but also serial killers. You know, they may have lost that fight against black and yellow, but we didn't get to see what was inside that safe box for them. They must have found some goodies.
4.5 mil and they got killed on the north side of the map. That is incredible right there. They must have found some incredible loot, a big red, maybe a tank or something like that to go ahead and boost up their total assets there, because 4.5 million is really, really crazy. That kind of flew under the radar for sure. But yeah, we're seeing the full effectiveness now of that strategy that the AKA team pulled out, not pulling the switch, kind of, you know, taking the glider extract off of the top of the tower. Definitely ended up paying off for them. Now let's go ahead and see how they actually stack up against the rest of the lobby. With Ink going down early, yes, they still are in first place because they have that MandelBrick, but their assets are starting to slip a little bit. If you take a look at those assets, they're actually 4th highest in assets, but Halal Enjoyers, we knew that they were going to be sitting up here very, very high as it pertains to the assets, because that's kind of the strategy that they have been implementing so far. 14.2 million.
Definitely had a big game early on and have really been enjoying the momentum from that in terms of their assets. But it's tough, right? If I'm Ink, you're really banking on the fact that we need to get another MandelBrick, because chances are we're going to have to make a comeback on that asset value when it's getting a little late, right? With Halal Enjoyers putting 5 mil gap. It's not impossible, but you never want to come down to the wire with that. But let's go ahead and see how they compare into Group B, right? That's where things are starting to get mixy because we are going to be combining them at one point. And I don't know how many matches this is after, but at least after match number 2, because we do know that FSFC did get the MandelBrick and 9.5 million in assets. So not only did they get the MandelBrick, but we're finding the assets as well with Mengu right behind them.
Man, right? We've got teams up in, digit like 14 million, 11 million, kind of struggling over here in Group B to kind of break 9 million. That would make me kind of inclined to believe that those matches over there might be a little bit closer. If anybody's wondering, right? SFC, that team is going to consist of Spades, Grim, and Boss Dude. So they went ahead and picked up the MandelBrick in match number 2. So they've got an early lead right there. And, Tiff, your boys over there at Big Boys, they're going to be in third place.
Big Boys.
5.6 assets.
I'm just such a menace. Like, you can't get that one past me. Like, I'm going to do that every single time. And if that makes me annoying, well, let's have fun at it. But I do love that we're kind of getting to witness Group B and where it stacks up. So far, we're trending to be slightly quicker, I would say, than Group A, because that is only after 2 matches. But we can see here from the operator selections of what that move over to Space City in match number 4 is going to look like for Group A. Serial killers, they've already used D-Wolf, they've used Viren, they used Saniva, 2 assault operators, and that's kind of wild, right? When you think about their aggressive strats and their fighting potential for those first couple of matches, and they've kind of gone through with that for AKA Viren and Nox, done and dusted. But this is where we'll start seeing the potentials of more Hack Claws, more Lunas kind of inkling on out in Space City.
Yeah, I definitely want to see the AKA trio kind of pull out the Luna. I kind of mentioned it earlier on, but I'm pretty sure January pretty often plays Luna, so I'm pretty sure that should be his most comfortable operator, but we'll have to see. All those decisions have already been made. We're jumping into game number 4. The MandelBrick is going to be back on the map, and it's going to be worth fighting for.
Oh, I'm ready. You think about where it's going to be, keep your eyes to the dead center of the map, and things get difficult, but if you're AKA, you're serial killers, you've got a pretty quick spawn that's going to allow you to maneuver straight on over to that building. And of course, you just have over 2.5 minutes left until that MandelBrick will unlock into the map. But it's plenty of time for Ink to work on their way over. They're halal enjoyers for the western side of things. So keep tabs on it. We're going to see some early action.
Yeah, already though, right? One of the teams that I want to go ahead and kind of prove themselves, get a little bit more in tune with the action right here is going to be AKA, but early on, they're going to run into serial killers. So this is going to be kind of an early fight over towards Black Chamber, but oh my gosh, the peek comes out from Suryasha. Articuno's going to be like, no, no, no. I'm going to rip your head off right from the head glitch. And now the 3v2 advantage for AKA. They definitely want to go ahead and get some early control over Black Chamber, and wiping out a team would definitely do that.
Yeah, that is actually wild. But look who grabs the trade. Fun FPS. He's got a gunny on him. Former pro player and still potentially over there in another title. Definitely can hit hard. Does drop Articuno. And if I'm AKA, we want to focus on potentially getting that res back on up. And you can see here, Data Swarm coming on in and Crisp. All 3 up. Suryasha definitely needing to heal on up, and Fun just kind of covering.
I mean, this is a pub match strategy, right? Not a lot of people know about the ability to kind of crawl up from that gap right there. But I mean, we're playing against people who play the game all the time. They know about that opportunity. Articuno kind of making the same mistake as 60MG just did right there. They both going to get their heads ripped off from kind of making that jump peak. But at the end of things, as the dust kind of settles right now, while they may have been knocked for it, they're kind of lucky to get away without being punished more. Very aggressive stuff from Articuno to kind of make that initial mantle into the room. Oh my gosh, and I'm just kidding. They do end up getting punished with their lives. The flank comes in. Black and Yellow cleans up the entire trio in a matter of about 3 seconds.
Yeah, that's actually pretty disgusting for Black and Yellow to nicely time that. AKA an unfortunate game here in match number 4. No MandelBrick for you, but you know what? With 4 teams left on the map and Ink kind of chomping to go ahead and end this tournament, and Halal's like, fine, do it. I don't care. We got plenty of asset value. Heck, we'll actually extort you over there, maybe.
Oh man, I mean, crazy plays being made right now. Kind of crazy as well that we've already lost one of our teams. this being one of the most important matches, I mean, you got to think about the implications. If Ink manages to decode the MandelBrick right now, some of our teams that are kind of going down early right now might be instantly out of contention. As I kind of take a look at the map and trying to get a little bit of a closer look as to who I think might actually pick up the MandelBrick initially. It looks like Halal Enjoyers, they might be in the best spot if they're at the bottom of Centrifuge. They might be able to crawl out that door and go under, but I did see that the boss is up in the center of the map, right above where the MandelBrick spawns. So it does complicate some of the rotations towards the MandelBrick, but if you actually find yourself under, she will not bother you while you're there, so.
Well, let's see how that works. Lacto just kind of seeing what we can find, any scraps from a neighboring place. And honestly, if I'm Ink, you can see that in that map over there. We're kind of just setting up, looking for information, biding our time. Mind you, we just have 15.5 minutes to go. The world is our oyster here on Space City when it comes to making sure we can get that MandelBrick. You start thinking about the decoding stations, though, right? We saw Dormitory earlier. We saw Black Chamber. We've seen a lot of action. It's not going to be the only decoding stations available, but those are two of the most prevalent that we do see.
HE is kind of making some rotations over here. They were in, you know, one of the best spots that we've seen so far, for sure, at getting that MandelBrick. They did not actually go out and pick it up, though. And this is going to be extreme hindsight right here. They have no idea they could do this, but HE could have literally picked up the MandelBrick and made a dash for it towards dorms, like we saw earlier, and started a decode. There is nobody on that side of the map at all.
I do love a good mad dash and would make for an interesting thing here, but getting into there before anyone else, I love the conservative nature of Ink, right? And I mean, they're pretty kitted out. So it's the best time for them to make a play to end this tournament now. And with AKA out of the map, we know that they had that fighting prowess, right? We've seen so many times January and Co. competing in a slew of Delta Force tournaments. Would have been formidable. It is tough that they took an early exit here. Especially with so many people nearby and that first kind of inkling of information going their way.
You could see Ink's trying to control the front of Black Chamber right now. They feel like they could get some angles towards the MandelBrick and kind of maybe prevent somebody from picking it up. Doesn't necessarily have the best of angles, but the position in itself kind of holds down the bridge extract in a roundabout way, so you can kind of pay attention to the rotations that are going to be going on there. But you know, as the clock starts to tick here and no early moves for the MandelBrick, you would have to imagine that it's just going to get harder to actually decode the thing. So, you know, again, I kind of begged our teams to take some initiative, and we instantly find ourselves at a standstill early on.
It's very much that Spider-Man meme of everyone pointing at themselves like, no, you go get it. You go get it. You grab the MandelBrick. I'm not going to be the one to touch it. And then Ink's like, please, somebody do it.
I mean, Ink's kind of sitting pretty. You know, if nobody else decodes a MandelBrick over the course of these 3 matches, they'll be the only team with one, and then they'll just win. I mean, they have a MandelBrick and nobody else does, then they'll win. Obviously, we are a ways away from that happening, but I'm trying to kind of, you know, think about what they might be thinking right now. If we can just deny the MandelBrick completely from anybody getting it in every single match, then we'll win. And obviously that starts with, you know, match number 4 here. And if you're taking a look at the map, they're sitting on the bridge. They don't necessarily have the best line of sight towards the MandelBrick, but they could easily make a rotation towards any of the decoding stations from that position and deny it from there.
Ooh, I mean, I just want to see someone jump onto it, though. I'd love to hear kind of the comms that's like going through the head of these teams, right? As they kind of still be very cautious around this. As you can see, HE kind of focusing on those tanks, and they're like, hey, you know, if no one's going to fight, maybe the tanks are going to get involved and force someone into it.
Ooh. Oh. Yeah, I thought that was on the player. So I was going to be taking out the boss, though, so. Oh, and also, Lacto went ahead and picked up the MandelBrick.
Yeah, Lacto did. Let's go. Getting out into the mix of things. We saw them focusing on to the auto tanks, and it allowed Lacto to cover the distance, grab the MandelBrick, and next thing you know, you saw that threat level go up to a 3, which means everyone's around here. Now, basically what I would do if I was a team looking to defend it, I would try to go preemptively over to some of those decoding stations. What is that going to look like? But then if you choose the wrong one and you could have opened the door for Halal enjoyers to have a free rotation out to dormitory, it's very possible for that thing to happen.
Being in the lead, being in the lead in terms of the asset leaderboard, we know that for Halal enjoyers. But Lacto brought out the Just went ahead and got a peek at that. Had it equipped right there. But as we go ahead and focus back up, right, black and yellow, they're going to be on the door right now. Slingbag on the Luna is actually going to be one of the most important members of this team. Has the delay on the choke point right there. The grenades, very, very useful on a door like that, as well as the shocks.
I feel like all you're doing when you see the is just like, yes, people are understanding that they're doing what I said. So you get a vivid point right here and now in match number 4 for bringing out the But now, if you head on over to kind of get this thing in a decoding station, we'll be feeling really nicely for sure.
Lacto, if you use that thing in tack stance, though, we're gonna have to have a conversation. I want to see the scope used at bare minimum. Don't disappoint me.
What if they just
going for trick shots? He's going for trick shots, I think.
With everything. I would cry here on main. It's fine.
Well, we're saying it again, Tiff. Halal is making the push over to dorms, and as you can see in the bottom left, the hazard level 0. Slingbag knows that there is nobody around. A free rotation over to one of the strongest spots on the map for the Decode. The reason why this spot is so strong is we saw it earlier. The rotates in, they're not easy. There's only kind of 2 main areas that you can come from. Obviously, Central Command, that features a little bit of a choke point. That one's hard to push through. Also, Westgate, where a lot of our teams are going to want to push through because a lot of our teams right now are focused on the center of the map. Westgate, though, we all know that is also a choke point. It's going to be hard to push this MandelBrick.
It 100% is, but someone's going to have to do it. And as we get on board here with serial killers, we did see a couple reds go their way early on, but we need to use this height, use these windows to see, hey, is anyone else going to rotate through this way? But time is of the essence, right? We saw people maybe start to make this push over to dormitory with like 30 to 45 seconds to go, and it just didn't work, right? And know that you've got north of 3 minutes left of this decode. We got to get moving because now Halal enjoyers had plenty of time to set up their defensive.
Yeah, but I mean, what happened to Ink, right? I was kind of thinking that they were going to push as soon as somebody picked up the MandelBrick and deny a rotation. They obviously didn't do that. Now, serial killers is like, hey, listen, like they're decoding. There's 3 minutes left. How do we get over there? This is not a good push. Like, you got to prevent this spot from happening, right? Trying to be, reactive to it is just 10 times harder. And yeah, as you can see, right? Black and yellow, they're like, all right, let's push from central. Serial killers, they're going to look to go ahead and maybe push through Westgate. Maybe they'll go through Employee Passes 1. And then there's Ink at the bottom. They finally left the bridge, and they're going to look to get into the mix now, but I don't know if they're going to be able to.
Yo, if I'm Ink, I'm calling Bay, I'm calling serial killers, and I'm saying, yo, I need you guys to push all at the same time. They can't watch all of us. So if we can just all cross in from the time being, we're going to be just fine. For now, Slingbag headshot. Zomo and John are up there on the north. You know they're going to look for those angles. So you can see him just there in the picture-in-picture, biding their time.
I mean, Slingbag, right, has the bulletproof glass that he can see through. He can see if anybody kind of comes through that choke point right there. Although, it looks like they may have snuck by. I think the audio cue was kind of picked up as Headshot definitely sees Zoma right now. Zoma is going to get face-to-face with the bulletproof.
Like, hey there, buddy. You want to do something about this? Let's do it.
Shepherd trap is baited out. Zomo popped his ultimate, but the Shepherd on the other side also popped their ult. That's going to cancel out the 2 ults. But Zomo does gain control of this building. He is going to be able to use the bulletproof glass that is right in front of him to kind of see where HE's playing from. Now, the timing here is going to be pivotal. We've got 1 minute and 20 seconds left. At the same exact time, serial killers are pushing from the other side. They somehow managed to sneak in through Westgate, even though Ink was kind of preventing them from doing that. And now Fun, going to be on the Luna here, darts over and looks for some information.
This is huge, right? If serial killers can take this from them, it really works for them in kind of regards to what that leaderboard is going to look like. Definitely checks the decoding station and then doubles on back. But I think the sandwich could come through, and black and yellow. Little stealth action there to rip it away as Halal enjoyers set their focus straight onto serial killers.
I mean, serial killers, this whole entire play was based off of making no audio. Chris just flies up the staircase, though. Slingbag turns around, is made known of the push, strictly based off of audio. And now, black and yellow has actually managed to steal the MandelBrick. And if you caught a little glimpse of it, they're sitting behind that bulletproof glass that looks right over the decode station. So it can stay hidden and get all of the information.
Oh, look who's finally deciding to join us. Hey, Ink. See them rotating in from that other side. You can see serial killers down there in the middle, kind of still having some issues with this staircase. We've seen it be a point of contention across the variety of Space City games that we witnessed on the EU side of things, but it's made for some real difficult pushes. And if you've got black and yellow hiding behind that bulletproof glass, they're not really looking to fight. They're just trying to bide out time.
Yeah, but Ink, right? This commitment right here. If it wasn't obvious already, nobody as a team is going to be extracting from this raid. There's not going to be enough time to make a rotation towards any of the switches right now, as Zal sees two opponents towards the bottom of the staircase. He's got an angle right now. Opts to go ahead and take the shot. Sir Yash is going to be knocked right there. That's going to leave one player left alive. In Fun FPS, the rocket's going to come out, but Fun, being very aware, knows he has to destroy the rocket, so swings out to go ahead and pull that off. But oh my gosh, he destroyed the rocket. The rocket blew up, and then Fun FPS must have stayed inside of the explosives that go off when the rocket blows off, and he went down to the rocket.
That's unfortunate. That's unfortunate, I'm not gonna lie. That things happen. Bad things happen to good people. And then we keep on moving because Ink now is gonna work their way up towards the staircase. And of course you gotta contest with some of these walls, but we'll start to break them. And I love that Too Easy is kind of bringing up the rear here to reunite with the teammates after potentially causing a distraction, right? Because it's Halal enjoyers that are gonna be blocking them, but it's still black and yellow with the decode.
Yeah, I mean, Ink, if they go ahead and win this thing ultimately and get their hands on the decode, this could be their second MandelBrick. So think about the implications of that. But HE right now is kind of playing spoiler for their entire plan. It is just a duo left alive, but in order to take out that duo, they would have to expose themselves to black and yellow. Tough position for Ink to kind of be in here as the nade kind of comes out. Headshot goes for the swing right there, and he's going to take a little bit of damage as a result. And I don't know if they can kind of formulate a plan here. It looks like the gearboxes might be tinkering right there as black and yellow, they pick up a headshot snipe. The receiving end of that's going to be headshot. Irony in the kill feed right now.
Oh, we are going for a play. We're going to try and get to it if we can. But if you've got black and yellow sniping, things are going to be really difficult, and you have to keep an eye on that timer. We need smokes. We need everything, but I don't know if it's going to be enough. I'm pretty sure black and yellow should be golden here when it comes to getting that MandelBrick.
I mean, the smoke is doing so much right here. The res is actually coming out right in front of his face. He's just waiting for the smoke to go ahead and fade so he can pick up the elimination. He sends the rocket at the wall. That's going to do max damage, and he finds the kill onto HE. But amongst all of the chaos, Baby B went down. Black and yellow secured the MandelBrick. We're all tied up on the leaderboard, and the two remaining teams are the ones that have secured them. But the favor in numbers, it's going to go towards black and yellow for at least right now, as the res is potentially being played for, but no, it's called off.
So here's the deal, though. Remember how close our leaderboard was in terms of asset value? And Ink, even though they had already had a MandelBrick, it's not like they were leading the pack in that asset value. So really needing to end the tournament with 2 MandelBricks would have been super preferential for them, but they lose out on this one. Not aggro enough, but maybe we can get some points from the fighting. And Zomo, Skies, both down. Just gotta find that last player.
Power position right there for sure. Head glitch combined with a little bit of shrubbery. It's going to be really, really hard to see the operator through that. And the double swing comes out from Skies and Zomo. That's not going to pan out, as now Ghazal is only interested in pushing. 1 minute and 45 seconds left in this match. Means that no extractions are going to happen. The 300k from kills is all he's thinking about. I'm gonna open up the door here. Here's the audio cue. And I would imagine that they kind of know where this player's at. And now the swarm comes in from the toxic, right? Time is ticking for Joner. He's got to go ahead and make sure he gets that removed so that way he doesn't tick down to 1 HP. The swing comes in from too easy. The smoke makes everything so chaotic. Kills. Hell goes.
What?
Joner
What?
takes out too easy? What?
That's something you run back from Joner's POV 1000%. My man just living the best life inside that smoke, juking everyone out.
It doesn't matter how long the highlight reel is. Get that on YouTube right now. That needs to be seen by the masses. Joner with an incredible clutch. Oh my God. How? I mean,
Oh no, we're gonna find out. We're gonna find out right now.
just goes ahead and oh, the drop shot. Oh my gosh, the drop shot.
You mystical man inside that smoke, man. That is tough. That is tough. Not only do you get the MandelBrick, but you also get to dance on the former MandelBrick extraction people as well. Man, oh man. Like, does that satisfy you, Vivid? I know you were asking for a lot in terms of some engagement and getting into the mix, but I feel like that play kind of made up for it.
I mean, yeah, you can't ask for much more. Incredible stuff. I thought that was all but done and dusted. I thought Ink were gonna pick up a kill as a little bit of a consolation prize in the end there, but no, they couldn't actually manage to go ahead and secure it. I thought the swarm coming in from Toxic was going to be enough to provide enough time for them to kind of push and establish a little bit of a space, but that wraps up match number 4. Questions about the MandelBrick, who was going to pick it up early on in the match, as nobody was seemingly interested in going for it at all. And then Black and Yellow, they were like, hey, listen, you guys are going for it over at dorms, we're going to come steal it, and that's going to be all she wrote.
Look, hey, it was great. It was definitely great. Sure, the halal enjoyers were going to be the first ones to kind of run that MandelBrick over to dormitory building, start that setting up, but then you see you got serial killers rotating in from mid, Ink kind of showing up every once in a while, and then as kind of Bay, Black and Yellow descended from Central, we knew exactly what was going to happen, but luckily the timing, right? Kind of just passing like ships in the night throughout as they made their way over to dormitory. They kind of got on there, stole it, and did everything that they needed to do.
Absolutely did. And I'm not going to lie, right? We were talking that position up. We were like, oh my gosh, they made it over the dorms, HE. They're going to get the MandelBrick for sure. But so much pressure instantly kind of came in. They lost the building that has so much control over the entirety of the thing. And yeah, I mean, the ending of that match was so awesome. I forgot that these fights kind of happened in Black Chamber earlier on. Serial Killers versus AKA was an incredible fight that ultimately ended up concluding from a third party from Black and Yellow.
I mean, look, it was pretty much like we played an entire match here with only 4 teams, right? So which kind of like had me looking at Ink like, this is something that you should just take advantage of, right? You're not gonna have AKA out first every single game. Grab that MandelBrick, get on over, defend it. And sure, they showed up, but you gotta think this is where 2 minutes were left on the decode. Now, Killsaw does invest that missile, right? And of course, you know, we see the implosion come through and serial killers are out, but time is already starting to dwindle and Bay, that nice third party. I love seeing that we get to see it from their POV.
Oh man, Joner with a little bit of you can see, you know, a quarter of his helmet sticking over the little wall right there, but finds the angle for the shot. Also a great heads up play. Killsaw got incredible value out of the rocket, right? Found 2 full kills just via the splash from it. And obviously the highlight so far of, you know, through the entirety of NA, Joner with an incredible clutch. The smoke just creating so much chaos. The drop shot as well. Oh my gosh.
Look at Vivid. He's like, thank God we're seeing something crazy cool like this. Plus, I think the team had 6 kills total, so a nice boon in terms of their value. They're going straight up from that. Ink found a lot as well. I think they might have been closer to 6, so some heavy hitting action, a lot of fights that we witnessed from there. But for now, all I can think of is what's next. Who's going to be able to end this one out? Will it be Black and Yellow? Will it be Ink? Or will someone new rise to the occasion? We'll check into that action as soon as we get back from the next break.
Havoc has brought about the dawn of a new age. But now, my friends, insatiable tumor has descended upon this land, plundering our homes, harming our families. threatening the bright future of Asara. For too long they have gone unchallenged, and they have infested the very core of our society. We must drive these rats out. Now is the time for change. Now is the time for judgment.
Let me detect first.
Welcome to the asylum! From madness to freedom!
Stay on high alert. Don't let Havoc's lackeys escape.
Two separate teams have found themselves a MandelBrick, but as we dive into our scores here for Group A, match number 4, the Delta Force Invitational Qualifiers of the NA Semifinals, Vivid. Look at how close a lot of the total assets are. I know Black and Yellow, that was a huge win for them to get that MandelBrick, but things are getting really interesting in form of that assets.
Yeah, I mean, match number 4, right? The lack of extracts, not even backpack being taken throughout that one right there. Is Black and Yellow picking up the MandelBrick is definitely going to be the highlight there, kind of tying things up as it pertains to Ink. But my eyes actually went down to Halal Enjoyers, right? In 5th, because they're kind of, you know, their play style or their advantage kind of going into the second half of the day was that they were actually ahead in terms of assets right there. But after losing 2.1 million assets in match number 4, I don't necessarily know if they're going to be comfortable kind of playing for that anymore.
Definitely, but let's go ahead and see what that overall leaderboard is looking like. And we are insanely close
I mean,
my
I was kind of,
God.
I was hinting at it right today. I was like, I don't think that they're going to be in the lead anymore. They are in the lead, but by about a mil from every other team in the lobby. So that's absolutely crazy. Definitely not a comfortable thing to kind of play around right there for sure. But that kind of asset play is also kind of removed by the fact that there are 2 teams with MandelBricks already. So we'll have to kind of keep a close eye on that. Now, of course, if a third team is able to pick up a MandelBrick, then we're going to have like a 3-way tie in terms of MandelBricks, and then it will come down to assets. So assets still do remain one of the most important things. And as a quick reminder, 2 teams are going to be qualifying through Group A right now, 2 teams through Group B as well. And then we're going to go ahead and take all of the players that are not qualified from Groups A and Group B, from not getting first or second place on the leaderboard, and then compare them on the leaderboard and see who kind of performed the best based on MandelBricks and assets there. So even though you may not be winning the race right here amongst your group, kind of like halal enjoyers, you may be winning the race as it pertains to both groups combined, and that there is value in that.
Ooh. All I'm thinking of, like, if you want a chance to make it into the regional finals on next Saturday, you need to lock it in. You need to get a MandelBrick and make sure this thing does not end. As you look at our map rotation here, sure, you just saw that first match, number 4, the first MandelBrick round on Space City. We have 2 more to go, so a little copy-paste action. And if you're, other teams that don't have a MandelBrick, you don't want copy-paste. So get into the mix early on. Grab that MandelBrick. And apparently rotate on over, because you're not going to find any real issue with the rotation over to a decoding station.
Absolutely. And of course, operators kind of coming into play right there. We did say AKA kind of pulled out the Luna for the first time, although kind of taking a look towards Ink, because I feel like it's going to be very, very important to kind of keep a close eye on who they pick. They have a total of 5 operators that they can no longer use. Luna, Seniva, Uluru, Toxic, and Stinger are no longer operators they can use, right? So they're going to be down to like Diwa, Firen, Shepherd, Akball, and Nox. I would imagine that, they probably, or they definitely, we saw them play for the win right there, right? They tried to push the MandelBrick. But now I feel like we're going to enter a territory to where they're going to be kind of uncomfortable on some of these operators.
Or we're just kind of hoping that they're comfortable on Viren and Hatclaw, and they're setting up for them to use in the last 2 games. We could think of it one way, we could hopefully go another way, but regardless, if you're here in chat, you're watching us, make sure you follow us at @DeltaForce_game on all major socials. And we see the community kind of getting ingrained in so much information on Reddit. I mean, you got Delta Hub, like the interactive maps. They do so many cool things to help you with your best of luck on your raids. But enough about that, because we're diving back into Space City. Give us match number 5.
Match number 5 is going to be a big one. 2 teams can now win the entire thing. And one of those teams, of course, being Ink, they're going to be up towards Central Command Building. The other one going to be Black and Yellow. And can't lie, they're already in one of those favorable positions, right? The bottom of Centrifuge at clear access point right to where the MandelBrick spawns.
Crazy how that works. Sometimes you get spawns that are phenomenal, but Bay right now just going to go ahead and contend and deal with them, get them on out, and start working their way up the staircase. Do you think that they're just going to rip it and ship it? Just get it off to a decoding station?
I think they're going to pick it up. I think they're going to go ahead and make sure that they go ahead and secure it early on, right? That'll give them a lot of information about where teams are around them. But I think if last match kind of told us anything, I think they're going to be probably pretty slow in terms of working towards a decoding station.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't want it to be slow, but we'll see for sure. I mean, Bay, they do have that Luna. They've got a Stinger in play. I'm kind of looking around, see who's going to bring in things out. Of course, a couple Toxic, Luna combos, and just kind of using whatever you have left, feeling confident with. Do you want to see serial killers getting to the mix, right? The only thing they're missing is kind of that MandelBrick.
Well, I was going to kind of point out that serial killers right now, they are the only full trio with full gold. All 3 of them have gold helmets, and all 3 of them have gold vests on. No other team in the lobby right now even comes close to that. I mean, I'm only seeing Articuno. He's got a gold helmet and a gold vest. And then Lacto from Halal Enjoyers has a gold vest. That is all of the gold armor that is in the lobby right now. So serial killers have a big advantage.
Yeah, but a lot to lose if things don't just go their way. But they've been flying under the radar, and we've seen some fights not go their way, but you know what? They're still in the mix when it comes to that asset value. So if we can really change our fate here and grab ourselves a MandelBrick and potentially shift ourselves into the top 2, it's going to go the distance, especially having a MandelBrick win compared over towards Group B happening off screen. It's definitely going to pay off.
Ink again. Kind of locking down a position and just kind of waiting. You know, you're in a position to go ahead and win it all if you compete for the MandelBrick or are able to deny it from other teams. So I don't necessarily mind this. I do want them to kind of be a little bit more reactive when it comes to, you know, having somebody pick the MandelBrick up. As soon as they start to move, you do need to make a move a little bit faster than you did in that last match right there, as the MandelBrick is now able to be picked up. Black and yellow, they did not move for it early as I thought they might have. And serial killers are the only other team in the center of the map, but they might be up top in CEO. And yeah, taking a look to the walls right there from Zomo's POV, they are up top. So yeah, black and yellow are the only team that can actually go pick this thing up right now.
Well, we'll keep our eyes on that, but you think of the decoding stations, right? Look over at HE. They spawned over towards dormitory and they're not leaving. They're going to assume that there's potential for teams looking to rotate over there for the decode as well. The last time this happened, we did see some teams maybe go on over to Black Chamber for the decoding station. So it's all about where that MandelBrick decides to move towards.
I did see as well, AKA, they were towards the printing room side of the drawbridge. So they can use the key card to go ahead and put that bridge down, but it does, you know, provide some insight to the rest of the lobby that you're there. Obviously, the audio cue is going to go off, and then visually speaking, if the bridge goes down, you obviously know that there's a team kind of using that key card over there. So they might be a little wary about moving that, but potentially a fight here, right? Black and yellow, right underneath serial killers. Serial killers are going to be in the hallway above them. They're going to have the bulletproof glass. They're going to be able to see, and I'm not going to lie, I'm looking at it, and Zomo is at the bottom of the pit right now. He took the zip line all the way down, and if serial killers catch wind of that, it would be a really hard task for Zomo to get back up.
Well, he looked like he was trying to ascend right there after picking up a nice red item, 430k in value. It's going to definitely go hard here for this last match. I was thinking last match of the day, as if it's going to end here, as if someone's going to go for a two-peat on that MandelBrick.
Predicting the future here is going to be Tiff, and a little bit.
You never know.
Yeah. Although good insight there from black and yellow. They were about to run through, and maybe they caught wind of Halal Enjoyers kind of being on the outside right here and did not make that dart across, and they quickly diverted their path. So they did not get caught off guard there, but it was very, very close. Ooh. We're going for the MandelBrick, I think.
Do it. Get that MandelBrick, pick it on up. You could end it here if you really wanted to. Did find some nice, but you're getting poked, you're getting prodded. All is well, though.
They actually walked right by the MandelBrick. And,
sure.
They're opting to go to the bridge. Now, this is interesting because they don't know it yet, but the boss is up on the bridge. Are they making a play for the backpack extract? Are they happy with the reds that they have found?
I mean, if they feel like they've got enough to lock them into second place, if Ink is going to be able to close it on out. That's a real big gamble, though.
Yeah, I mean, you're basically conceding any opportunity to fight for the MandelBrick. Yeah, they do have a Gazelle. That's going to be worth about 400,000, but I mean, yeah, if you do look at the assets obtained, they do have 2 mil. So if they could go ahead and put all of that into the safe box, then I guess that would be worth it, and just leave the 2 of your other teammates to kind of make something happen.
Send them out and make sure that no one else can really get some actual value out of this match. And if Ink does decide to close it on out, then it is what it is at this rate.
Yeah, I mean, the commitment is in. They've made the decision to go ahead and just take the asset values. And honestly, listen, if you do think about it, if they do start to, acquire assets, like you talked about, they do kind of guarantee themselves second. Because right now, they don't necessarily have to fight for the MandelBrick. If Ink decodes the MandelBrick, Ink gets first. And the only other team with a MandelBrick is black and yellow. So they'll get second, naturally. If, let's say, hypothetically speaking, one of the other 3 teams, let's just say serial killers, gets the MandelBrick out, with black and yellow being probably the only team to have anybody extract, their assets should be higher and high enough to kind of hold on to second place no matter how the next 2 matches go, or this one and match 6. So I do think this is actually a smart play. Thinking about it more, I do think it locks down second place and the qual spot, the finals.
Well, they're thinking to the future. They're thinking to next Saturday. And for now, everyone else that's still kind of playing around this MandelBrick, you can see serial killers and halal enjoyers just on the overside of things. And as you see black and yellow going out there, they're understanding it's time to maybe chalk some other games, right? Because we've already kind of secured ourselves the long game. Now is to make sure that it actually happens.
AKA is still over towards printing room. They have not moved. I did see them over towards the key card earlier on, but they've opted to kind of make a further retreat as halal enjoyers kind of run into serial killers right now. This fight is kind of important because this spot down here at the bottom of centrifuge does allow access to the MandelBrick, right? And quickly, halal enjoyers are not interested in fighting towards the bulletproof glass. So I don't necessarily disagree, but now serial killers will have the opportunity to potentially pick up the MandelBrick. But I mean, 10 minutes left. You have to pick up the MandelBrick, then you have to put it into a decode station. It takes 4 minutes from that point to actually secure the thing. I mean, we're running out of time here for anybody to kind of make a play for the MandelBrick.
Kind of wild that this is what we're seeing, right? By now in EU, we would have been at the decoding station, iced up, just chilling, waiting, right? But that's not how NA is playing out. It's been vastly different. But now into that kind of halfway point of the match. Mind you, only 20 minutes on Space City, and now you can see a couple explosions coming on through. For Sling Bag, we're just running, right? Kind of maybe hitting a reposition. We knew we saw them at dormitory building over by the decoding station, and since no one has picked up the MandelBrick and has looked to hit a decoding station, maybe it's time we start saying, fine, we'll do it ourselves.
Went around outside and entered in from a different spot, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but the closest team to the MandelBrick right now is actually going to be black and yellow, but on the other side of things, Hero Killers finally making the move into the middle right now. Crisp goes and locks himself into the animation of the MandelBrick and is quickly taken out by Zomo. The duo that stayed in after sending their teammate out backpack is already having an impact on this match.
They understood the assignment and they want to get mixy, right? Play spoiler to some other teams, especially picking up another 300K in asset value just on a kill alone.
If they can deny this MandelBrick all entirety, like if nobody decodes it, the black and yellow play for the assets, it's perfect. They all but guarantee second.
They're doing a really good job of it thus far. Still trying to keep a tab on high ground. Make sure there's any crazy angles that we could definitely see come through. Some nice shots towards the halal enjoyer. Not going to connect for anything. And all we really do is give up our positioning. So I love the re-peek from a different angle, shooting through the plants here on Space City.
Yeah, Zomo probably getting a lot of value out of the scope. Of course, being able to use the rangefinder ability on it does kind of give you an insight as to where some of the players could be. It really helps with some of this foliage right now. And as you can see, he's kind of playing behind all of it. So definitely playing a little cheeky. The grenade's going to come out. If that splashes, all three players are kind of in the same spot right there. But no, grenade does not go far enough. And I mean, the clock is ticking.
TikTok does the clock. So, I mean, close enough, right? Like, we know that it is actually moving and no one is moving towards kind of getting the real objective done. The format, the double brick format, everything comes down to the wire. But AKA, look, they've got to be kind of doing some big brain strats over here because they haven't really made a play for CEO just yet.
Yeah, I mean, AKA, they were the team that was in printing room. Ink was the ones kind of sitting in central. So AKA must have pushed in, found some very good timing as soon as Ink decided to cross over to the bridge. But now Ink's like, listen, there's only 7 minutes left in this match. If we want to make a play of any kind, we've got to go do it now.
That pace is going to just amp on up as everyone is looking to scramble towards the end. But Zomo has become one with the cactus.
I mean, Tiff, we've got teams that are in this match without a MandelBrick, and they're not going for the MandelBrick.
I do not compute of why, but there has to be an underlying reason, and I'm not going to say just because it's NA. Like, that doesn't work like that, okay? You've got to get in there. You got to get mixy. You got to deal with Zomo and Johnner. And Johnner's been on a tear when it comes to some of these fights, and he's going to be scary if you have to get mixy with him post MandelBrick.
Yeah, I mean, I no longer mind the play from Ink or Black and Yellow because if nobody picks up the MandelBrick, I mean, they're the only two teams with the MandelBrick. So, you know, it's not that bad. But now Halal enjoyers are going to be pull and switch here in test range. So extract potentially on their mind. But, I mean, your assets are not that important right now, right? Even if you extract with a lot of money, I mean, you might pick up that 5th qualifying spot, but finally, 60 MG. He's going to be pulling out the smoke right now. He's going to be pushing towards the MandelBrick. In the bushes is going to be Zomo. Black and Yellow have not moved an inch from this spot. Articuno finds the trade, but now everything's breaking loose. Ink gets involved. They find the third party. 5 minutes and 20 seconds left. 4 minutes for a MandelBrick to be decoded. They've got about a minute to take the MandelBrick and run it over to a decoding station. And it seems like everybody is fine with denying every which way the MandelBrick.
And this was a real big W here from Zomo, right? Just kind of starting this all-out brawl over the MandelBrick makes everyone question kind of pushing and maybe making that play for it because you're going to value it. But even if you, like, it's not like you're extracting at this point unless you do, but even then, AKA at 297,000 asset obtained throughout this game, Ink, 716, we would find more significance by having gotten the MandelBrick done.
Absolutely. And I mean, even making an honest attempt at it, I mean, giving yourself a minute to push to the MandelBrick, I mean, you can't clear anything. You just have to run to it. And that's kind of what we're seeing right now. All of these players are kind of just falling over because they don't have the opportunity to clear anything. They haven't been here. As we kind of tune over here, Halal enjoyers finally decide to kind of push in here to Centrifuge to try to maybe work towards the other switch. We did see them kind of pull the other one, so they might be kind of interested in going ahead and pulling this one. Finally, somebody picks up the MandelBrick as Joner is going to find Sir Yasha, and Fun FPS is seemingly just okay holding this angle down and getting a nade on the sling bag there.
Ink still the only team of 3 up in the midst of things and just located dead center, just staring.
ABB is going to be catching January out. January's going to be left as a solo for the AKA team right now. He's going to make sure that he heals up before he goes ahead and takes another gunfight. Kills Al now under pressure as well from Black and Yellow as ABB is going to make the final push on the January AKA trio. They're going to be wiped out from the lobby. Surprisingly enough, the only trio to actually be wiped out so far, with all of the solos and the duos kind of left alive. Ink still standing as a trio.
I'm just looking for extra value from kills at this rate. It's kind of all we're going to be witnessing. But at least Black and Yellow did send Skies out early via the extraction. Really looking to secure themselves a spot in the regional finals that are happening next week. But Killsall, we're looking for some kills on the board. Baby B's got 1. Killsall has 1. So 600k assets just from that alone, coupled alongside their 1.7 mil.
Yeah, I mean, this is all scary stuff. This match has kind of created a chokehold on the leaderboard. Obviously, I'm kind of jumping ahead of myself here with 2 minutes still left remaining in this match, but all but nothing can happen in terms of impact outside of a couple of kills and maybe some safe box loot. But if you think about match number 6, I mean, you have two teams who are going to be absolutely content with not trying to get a second MandelBrick because they're one of only two teams that have a MandelBrick. They're guaranteed first and second. Their assets, they don't care. If I get second, I'm going to the finals. If I get first, I'm going to the finals. I'm tied up in MandelBrick. So you're going to essentially have two teams in match number 6 that are just going to deny the MandelBrick, kind of similar to how they did this match. And I feel like these teams should have taken full opportunity here to pick up the MandelBrick, but they didn't, as you know, the kills might still end up mattering. As we turn into Slingbag here, he's going to find fun FPS on the receiving end of a couple of shots, but the bulletproof glass is going to prove once again to be difficult as we tune into Joner over here still. Kind of picking and prodding towards Ink as Too Easy jumps out and he's like, Joner, I'm tired of chasing you. Why don't you go ahead and take a nap for me, buddy?
Yeah, down and out. And it's not like they came in with some like stellar loot, right? They came in with a plan to go ahead, secure about 2 million in asset value and maybe get on out and maybe procure a couple more 300k points per kills. But for halal enjoyers, interesting performance out of them. But this is, you know, it's fine.
It is fine. Too Easy. He's going to be making a little bit of a run over towards the backpack. I'm not sure if he's checked the map yet or not. He might be met with a unfortunate surprise as he realizes that there's no seats remaining. So he's going to be not so happy. I mean, guys, you got to check the map.
What do you mean? What do you mean? You want them to check it?
Oh my goodness, the information is there. It's readily available. Apparently, we don't want to go ahead and use that. So now, I mean, hey, listen, fun, shout out to Fun, though, because he's kind of been, you know, staying alive as a solo for quite some time here. Finally, Lacto with 8 seconds left. Might be making the push right here. Slingbag jumps up, looks for the angle. Fun, opting to go ahead and finally take the gunfight. Gets the knock, but the kill's not going to come in. We're kind of just having fun over on Space City in match number 5.
Yeah, we definitely are. I think fun is a great way to put it, especially when you've got fun there in that last engagement, grabbing the knock. Look, not Fireman Fred. I think that's what he was going by. Kind of that lovely little alias that shook me up and just, what, 3 hours ago?
Yeah, kind of crazy that kind of, you know, we've been a part of the NA action here for a couple of hours already. But, I mean, Tiff, I would like to go ahead and say that match number 5 was entertaining and everybody was battling, but they weren't. No, they definitely weren't. But you know what? Hopefully Group B is having some fun that's happening off broadcast, because right now we literally are casting people kind of be very hesitant. I'd love to think that there's an underlying strategy, but let's jump into the replays and see some of the fighting that we witnessed into match number 5 and give me it. Give me it all. All of the replays that are coming through the match.
Wait, why did I think it was just going to be a bunch of replays on loop because of match number 5 and what we saw, just everyone staring at the MandelBrick? Is that... I'm just trolling myself.
See what you did there. We see what
I know. I'm telling you.
Like, there's nothing to watch. Nothing.
They were so quick. You missed it. And I have to tune into the VOD to see that one. But kind of vivid. But no, all jokes aside, we have to really gear up and think of what that last match on Space City is going to look like. We've had 2 completely different Space City games, right?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I was kind of already hinting at it, right, when I was jumping ahead of myself in match number 5 there towards the end. I mean, we've got 2 teams who, you know, thinking about it strategically speaking, would be perfectly happy with just all together denying the MandelBrick, making sure that nobody is able to go ahead and even get anywhere close to decoding it, because both of them are sitting fine, right? They both have a MandelBrick. There's no reason for them to kind of risk anything in terms of losing out on that spot, because if a third team does kind of join the mix, then the assets matter. And we saw the assets kind of going into game number 5, right, Tiff? There was like a 1 mil difference between all 5 of our teams. So it's very, very close in that aspect. But right now, the MandelBricks are sticking out as supreme.
Yeah, I mean, look, if you're black and yellow and ink, you're feeling really confident that you each have one, knowing that those 2 positions on the regional finals are likely going to be locked up for you. But if I'm not confused or anything, I believe that maybe Group B could be completely different. So if they're not getting the full 6 games, which is something that we saw happen, right, over in the EU side of things, those asset values could be something that we can contend with. However, in EU, Group B asset values were astronomically higher than what we had witnessed on Group A. So anything can happen. So you have to remind yourself, you're not only playing against your lobby, you're playing on both lobbies. But denying the MandelBricks, like you said, Vivid, it locks in the first 2 places, and no one else is going to be able to grab a MandelBrick to contend against Group B.
Yeah, absolutely. And replays for real this time for match number 5. The spawns might have dictated a lot. We saw black and yellow perfectly content with taking a very early backpack extraction. They did actually, end up extracting with a lot. And then the duo, I mean, this has got to be the MVPs, right? Joner and Zomo. They instantly pushed over to the MandelBrick. They kind of hid out in the bushes and just kind of waited. They denied the MandelBrick because of that strategy that I was kind of talking about. They just want to go ahead and obtain as many assets as they possibly can to make sure they win the tiebreaker in terms of any team that has just one MandelBrick. So extremely smart from them. All of the other teams kind of hung out around and let them kind of deploy that strategy as they so saw it. And then, when there was about 5 minutes left, everybody's like, oh my gosh, there's a MandelBrick and we got to try to decode it, and there's not enough time.
No, maybe not leave with just 5 minutes left to make something happen. Hopefully we see someone, what is it, like 3 minutes when the MandelBrick appears and allows you to actually run to a decoding station. I want to see more action in match number 6 around the MandelBrick, because honestly, don't let ink and black and yellow dictate the pacing of our last Space City game, Viv. We cannot let that happen.
Yeah, I mean, you're saying that right, but it might be easier said than done. I honestly don't know if you can go ahead and do that right. They could just kind of set up wherever they like, kind of prevent the rotation. So we see how crazy it is to kind of fight underneath the middle of Space City right there. It's not easy, as all of the shrubs being around, so many spots that you can kind of hide in. So much so that we saw a duo hold it down. Who knows what a trio could do down there?
Who knows what a trio can do? Honestly, that's the question that we're just going to have to keep asking ourselves. Will someone new claim a MandelBrick in our final match of the day? Will ink or black and yellow go ahead and end it all with 2 to secure their spot at the top of the leaderboard? Regardless, we're still looking for our final teams to advance on to regional finals happening next weekend. Last match of the day for Group A going to be coming after this break. almost wrapped up here with Delta Force Invitational Qualifiers for the NA Semifinals. And let me just tell you, after that riveting match 5, Vivid, it's all about black and yellow sending skies with that early exfil to make sure that we preserve our assets.
Yeah, actually, kind of implementing that strategy, kind of playing for bare minimum second place right there. If they could actually pull that same strategy off in match number 6, get an early extract out after picking up, a mill or two, they should be kind of guaranteed to get second place. I'm pretty sure they should be quite a ways ahead of Inc, because that would be kind of like only competition for at bare minimum second place right there. But as I kind of say that, I'm looking at Inc, they also got out with 2.2 million. So that asset leaderboard might be a little bit closer than we thought. But yeah, the heartbreaking thing here for me is the entirety of the MandelBrick column. As you can see, it's grayed out. Nobody kind of played for it in match number 5 and never even found its way over to a decoding station. So strategy-wise, in the lobby, kind of given up on the winning condition, which was a little confusing for us. But I do necessarily think that two teams I can kind of justify that strategy for. I think black and yellow and Inc are they're kind of playing for bare minimum second place. They just want to deny the MandelBricks right now. But our other 3 teams, it's all to play for them. And here we go, right? The total assets leaderboard is going to potentially make a huge difference as to who qualifies to finals. Right now, of course, black and yellow and Inc, they both have a MandelBrick each. There is only an 800,000 technicality difference between them. So even though black and yellow kind of played for that second place and the assets, still could potentially lose out even after playing for that. So they're not necessarily guaranteed anything right now. Halal enjoyers over the course of our matches have accumulated 12.3 mil, and that's a 1 mil lead over the serial killers. Should we start to kind of talk about that 5th place spot? Maybe that's what teams are playing for.
Stop.
I don't know.
But look, hear me out though. I want to see a comeback. I don't want to hear anything about playing for that 5th place slot. I want to see halal enjoyers, serial killers, aka get themselves a MandelBrick, because even then it's not like you're going to work on getting that 2 qualification spots, one of them from group A, right? Because not only would you have to get a MandelBrick, but you need some decent assets, and you have to be able to take down black and yellow and Inc in the process, denying them from moving on up. It's very possible, because you got halal enjoyers super like 1.1 mil shy of that. Look, you can make it happen, right? You take one team down, you're already looking at 900,000 technic alloy just from that engagement alone. Possible. Yeah, everything is still possible, right? I don't think the leaderboard is any which way decided right now, so that's kind of scary for all of our teams, even though that's what kind of happens when you do kind of give up one of those win conditions. The leaderboard does come up to be a little bit closer going into match number 6 here. But of course, we are going to be seeing Space City hard with a MandelBrick in match number 6 again, right? So the exact same thing we just saw in the last 2 matches right there. And I did kind of talk about the armor investment that kind of came in. I do believe all but everybody has used up their gold armor, so everybody should be on purple. We'll kind of keep an eye on that going into match number 6. But yeah, a lot to play for here. This is the last one of the day. You do need to get top 2. Well, let's go ahead and look at that operator select of what we are scrapping together here for the end. Looks like serial killers, Hap Stinger, Shepherd, Hatclaw. 2 choices there on to Nox for Inc, Viren, Shepherd, some Hatclaw and Nox. And black and yellow, we've used up a lot. Everyone's kind of used up their Lunas at this point. Like, we kind of expected that one to happen. So if you're not comfortable or you don't have any really good picks left for you, well, get comfy being uncomfortable, because lock it in, touch the MandelBrick, get it to a decoding station, because lo and behold, the MandelBrick is not allergic to the decoding station here in North America. I want to make that very clear.
Our top 2 teams here, right? What's their comps going to look like? Black and yellow, I would imagine they go for a Viren, Toxic, Aluru. They could throw in a Seniva, but again, if they're kind of playing to deny a MandelBrick, I don't know if a Seniva would kind of be helpful in preventing people from getting it straight up. Obviously, it is very, very useful in terms of stealing it, but they kind of want to prevent it right now. And our other team, who also has a MandelBrick, is going to be Ink's trio down there at the bottom. They have a Viren, Shepherd, Hackball, and a Nox available. So it'll be interesting to see if they kind of decide between the Hackball or the Nox right there.
Hey, decisions. And Who knows what they're going to come into on our match number 5 for Space City? Will we see an action-packed game? I'd imagine, depending on spawn points, we'll see some early contention fights as they kind of rotate around looking for information, or, like you said, Vivek, kind of seeking to deny the MandelBrick from anyone else if you are Ink and Black and Yellow. I'm nervous, right? Because you have to think about it. As a whole, we could see Ink and Black and Yellow be the teams that are moving on from Group A, but how has Group B fared? I'd love to go ahead and pull up the scores from that lobby, see how those teams have performed. And if I'm not mistaken, I see 2 MandelBricks for our double brick format. SFC completely annihilated this lobby.
Yeah, they did. I mean, wow, 30 mil in total assets, 2 MandelBricks. They instantly went ahead and won it convincingly. And I gave a little reminder earlier, that's going to feature Spades, Grim, and Boss Dude 91. So congratulations to you guys. They're going to be finding themselves in finals next week for sure. And then also second place there, Pangu, Arthur, and Tipo Cat with this 18 mil extracted in second place. They're going to be finding themselves in finals too. And then, you know, Tiff, we kind of talked about it. Now that Group B is done, we have the threshold that we kind of have to pay attention to. It's going to be 8.3 million, right? That's the highest that Group A would kind of have to compete with for that 5th spot. But I'm pretty sure like all of our teams are actually like above that, right? So they're going to be straight up fighting amongst themselves for that 3rd place spot on our very own leaderboard to kind of decide who gets that last and final slot. The MandelBrick had a giant question mark over it. It was almost as if it had some sort of cloak of invisibility in game number 5. Enough messing around. Game number 6, the last opportunity for our teams to actually go ahead and clutch up the qualification to finals. If you don't have a MandelBrick, I feel like the pressure should be on. Ultimately, it's up to you to decide your fate. How are you going to play Space City in match number 6?
Well, I'm looking at the spawn points and I see AKA kind of closest towards that building, Halal Enjoyers, across the way from Black and Yellow. And honestly, got that util going on out.
Yeah,
and they connected.
This is an early fight, right, Tiff? I mean, this is a straight up spawn fight. Getting caught trying to put down the bridge is going to be Black and Yellow. And you know, thinking about the leaderboard implications of this right now, this could be detrimental as a 3rd party actually comes in. I'm not sure where that's from. The Ink's actually going to find the knock on the Zomo as Slingbag is trying to put down some shots, and they're just raining in on him regardless of cover.
Okay. Ink out here finding some crazy angles onto Halal Enjoyers. Punishment coming back, though. That repercussions for Baby B.
Crazy how 3 teams could kind of fight over that little ticket booth that has the key card reader in it, right? Very, very quick. That's why knowing the map is very, very important. The Ink team kind of ran up the test range ramp. There's a little spot where you can kind of peek over and see the cross on the bridge. A little bit of map knowledge coming out there. A good sign for Ink's team. But now, Black and Yellow, one of our teams that has a MandelBrick, right? They kind of played for 2nd place in match number 5. And if they wanted to kind of replicate that strategy, it would definitely be best suited for a 3-person team. But losing Zomo early on is definitely going to hinder their strategy without a doubt, as Halal Enjoyers kind of pick them off spawn, and then Ink came in with the 3rd party.
Sure, it hinders their strategy, but dare I say Ink's still going to be preferential to them, kind of position themselves over nearby the MandelBrick, looking for teams rotating on in.
Yeah, I mean, Ink's definitely doing quite well, right? As you can already see, they're kind of already poised themselves at the front of Black Chamber. They can kind of see the bridge, but they're actually going to be making a push towards the MandelBrick. Going to be ducking under the boss right now. Too easy. Going to be jumping right on the MandelBrick. No, it's not spawned yet. It's going to have to wait just a couple more seconds, I do believe. Is it 25 more seconds, I think?
I believe so. Go ahead and see what Ink is about. You've got that Nox, Viren, Killzall, kind of locking it in. Engineer, all purple though. Would love more kills. Baby B does have one. And as soon as I say that, Easy kind of gets shredded apart from that peak.
Yeah, the boss, the tank, kind of making sure that he can't find his way to the MandelBrick very, very easily. AKA, they were on the spawn at the bottom of Centrifuge. They had easy access to the MandelBrick. I was a little worried for Ink because AKA was at the bottom of the doorway right there. You could see them all kind of bunched up right now. They heard the tank kind of shooting at somebody in the middle, so they knew somebody was around here. But regardless of that kind of happening, they know they have to make a play. A 60 MG. He's creeping towards the center. He's jumping on the MandelBrick right about now. He should be, and he's going to claim the MandelBrick.
All right, AKA picking it up. We're talking about those Hail Marys that are coming through in match number 6. Now, you have to think about it. This is the team that was in 5th place on that overall leaderboard for Group A. And if you want to procure yourself a spot into the regional finals to contend to get to LAN in China, happening next month for the Delta Force Invitational, competing for 500K. Tons of cash here.
Yeah, here you go. That's the MGG. I mean, he's running right to the station. And
you have to
put it on. What a complete, turnaround from match number 5. MandelBrick not getting touched, and then the MandelBrick has now record pace. Put this on a world record website of some sorts, but instantly picking up the MandelBrick and running over to the closest decode station to kind of mix things up here.
Now it's all about the setup, and Ink's like, oh, we have to defend. This is our time. We have to get mixy. We have to do it conservatively, right? We don't want to run that risk. You can see that security director over there, and those auto tanks will be prowling. But for Baby B, dealing with some of these traps here on the ground.
Thinking about the leaderboard here, right? We saw Group B. Since that team closed it out with 2 MandelBricks and nobody else had a MandelBrick, 1 MandelBrick, regardless of assets in this group, will qualify you to finals. You either get first or second, and then you are guaranteed to beat out anybody on Group B for that final spot. So a decode right now is an instant qualification for any of our teams. So Black and Yellow and Ink are guaranteed to qualify right now. That last remaining spot, though, is still up in the air.
All right. Well, AKA says we're not even going to worry about looting. We're doing a speed run here on this MandelBrick decode. Now, the thing is, will other teams make a play for it? You can see Black and Yellow starting to rotate in. Suryasha down from Serial Killers, and Crisp gets picked apart from Halal Enjoyers. It's going to leave Fun FPS, the last player alive for Serial Killers. But I do think we are going to kind of back on up, maybe get a res, and we should be able to pull this one off.
Yeah, the alt's going to be pretty much denying all of the space that the Halal Enjoyers would have to use to actually be able to pressure this res. But the double Uluru has been revealed, right? They know that Mollies could start to fly in behind this bus, and that would not be good. But now Fun and Suryasha, they've got to somehow pick up Crisp and bring him behind the truck for a safe res here. They do have the Stinger, who provides not only a lot of smokes to kind of make that happen, but also the faster res. Obviously, they don't know it, but Halal Enjoyers have all but disengaged from this fight because they're looking at the MandelBrick. There's 1 minute and 30 left.
That is scary because you know what this immediately does for them? Denies them a chance of moving on to the regional finals because they don't have a MandelBrick and their value may be higher, but it doesn't matter because AKA playing for the easy qual.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really look like anybody's kind of in a position right now to take this over. This is going to be another one of those situations where instead of being a little bit proactive, we're going to wait until the very last moment. We're going to send, just bodies towards the decode station and kind of hope for the best. No plays are going to be made, though. As I say that, though, Lacto is kind of jumping around on the outside. He's looking for some sort of peek, looking for some sort of opening. Has to turn around, though. He's going to be in a fight with Ink. Gets 1 fine on the 2 easy, but gets traded out. Baby B is going to be finding that refrag, and now Lacto is realizing that he's in a pinch, right? AKA is going to be in one building right across the way. There's going to be another team. And, of course, that's where the decode station is.
Ooh, okay. January trying to dive out of the way from the Molly's, not going to connect, and maybe throwing the triple blaster down the way. Sling bag going to be caught on out. Not too bad for them considering there's 20 seconds left. It could be AKA waltzing straight into regional finals based upon this final match on Space City performance.
Here it comes. Serial killers are trying to make a last-ditch effort. There's 10 seconds remaining. The D-Wolf needs came in. January slid to the smoke. Is he going to get there in time? He does. He gets the knock. The decode is absolutely stopped. I think that's all but everything. AKA has extracted with the MandelBrick. We have our 3 teams going to the finals simply based off of MandelBricks.
That is insanity that this is what is happening here. Congratulations to AKA for getting one of the quickest decodings that we have seen here on main broadcast today between regions.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. MVP play there from January. There was about 20 seconds remaining, and he went ahead. He used the triple blaster to go ahead and stall out the push from Sir Yasha, and then as soon as there was an opening, he went ahead and jumped into the smoke, slid through it to make sure to deny it, and got there just in time. Of course, Fun FPS going to be finding the consolation prize of taking out January in the end. But again, all of these kills, doesn't matter the loot, the 3 MandelBricks, those are going to be the thing that go ahead and secure the spots to finals. Doesn't matter how it turns out, these 3 teams will be competing next weekend.
They definitely will. And then their road to the Delta Force Invitational LAN, it gets one step closer. But I can't imagine that the lobbies will play out remotely like what we have witnessed today. Things are going to be changing once you meet up to play alongside those why can't I even say it? Come on. Invited teams. There we go.
Yeah, of course. Now, I will say, we obviously know that the threshold for that 5th place spot in terms of contribution from Group B, we know that was like 8 mil with no MandelBricks.
Yep.
But our teams don't know that right now. Black and Yellow and Ink, you know, they could still feel like they need to extract with a little bit more, or at least, you know, try to play to the best of their ability to try to at least fight for it, because, you know, they have no idea what that threshold is unless they've kind of seen that leaderboard. I'm not entirely sure if they have that information, but, you know, you would have to imagine that they don't. So potentially playing to go ahead and extract with as much as they possibly can could be worth it.
Could be. Definitely could be. I mean, you have Ink, who is the full team of 3. They could spend the next 9 minutes just waltzing around the map, going through every bit before deciding what we could see. I love that Skies there from Black and Yellow is just kind of frolicking around between the conditional extracts and then maybe even down towards the rocket extraction point, but no one's going to be down there, but it doesn't matter. We can still scope some things out.
Fun FPS is trying to go ahead and put together quite a fight as the jump peek comes out, kills Zal, gets absolutely destroyed with the headshot there. Fun FPS was taking some shots while absolutely blind, but all of that effort is finally going to falter. Ink goes ahead and clears out Fun FPS, and on the other side of things, we see Joner kind of taking a peek right now. He's going to be at the top of the ramp. Baby B might be met with a couple of bullets here if Joner can find an angle that he's comfortable with. Baby B keeps giving it to him for a second. Ooh. Oh.
Okay. I like this angle we're seeing. A knock and a full on to Killzone.
That's actually going to be the full right there, right? Cannot be rezzed again because we just saw Fun FPS hit the full onto Killzone. So Killzone's going to be out for the remainder of match number 6 here. And Joner's kind of running around. I wonder where Skies is at. Ah, doing the same thing they did in match number 5. Now, again, we obviously know that they're qualified by default with the MandelBricks here, but I did get confirmation that they do not receive information about how the other group did, so they actually don't know what the threshold is going to be, so they are technically still playing as if they feel like they have not qualified. So the assets do matter in their mind right now, which is why they're going to try to extract with as much as they possibly can.
Getting a good look at what they can potentially get on out of there with 3, 2, 1. Goodbye, Skies. Yet again, taking the early exit for Black and Yellow. Let's see what Gunner's able to do. You're likely just going to kind of run around. We saw them try to grab kills, deny people from getting out or having extra value obtained. But knowing that there's only 2 players from Inc. left on the map, this is going to be one heck of a hide-and-seek match.
I mean, Joner actually got a knock on the Ink, right? So he does feel like he's actually playing for a lot right now. Obviously, you know, the strategy of getting the extract out has been employed, but also if he can deny Ink any loot, because he knows he's fighting the Ink team. He got the knock on the kill. He knows it's the Ink team that's kind of left alive. He knows that they also had a MandelBrick decoded. So in terms of kind of fighting a team that has a MandelBrick, he's like, oh, wow, this could be huge for me if I can deny some loot right here. Albeit, he'll eventually find out that his efforts will not have mattered in the grand scheme of things.
We talk about how we're just kind of skirting our way and why these NPCs jump scare me more than real players sometimes. But you know who's going to hear that? Probably Joner.
Wow, Easy heard him. Joner was making a little bit of a shuffle. Too Easy heard it somehow, and he's going to get a hit marker on that flash. Did he? I think he should have gotten a hit mark on that flash if he threw it properly and didn't get hung up on anything, but... Okay, now Joner is going ahead and moving. Definitely enough to make some noise, so... Easy is well aware of this spot. He's jumping around. He's looking for the angle. He kind of just wants to fight, right? He's like, listen, I don't know what you're doing over there. I hear you creeping around. I kind of want to just take the fight. And Too Easy, as soon as the swarms come out, disengages.
That's a nice little bait and switch. Hey, come find me.
Joner wants it. I thought Too Easy would have won it initially, but seemingly doesn't anymore. And now Too Easy was kind of holding down the doorway. Joner actually opted to go ahead and run outside. So Easy's now kind of providing the comms to Baby B here. Hey, listen, there's this guy. We've been in about a 3-minute fight here, and we have not exchanged any shots yet. But we're fighting.
Get ready to make this one happen, right? But for now, we do have to start thinking about that timing, right? We did pull the helicopter extract lever, kind of get things moving, with still having to deal with Joner on the other side.
Too Easy kind of playing the audio right now. He did have the Nox alt activated for a split second there, so Joner was probably kept on his toes. As we kind of tune in to the looter POV, Baby B is like, hey, bro, you good over there? I'm juicing up. Some K4s. K4's always nice to find. They're always worth a pretty penny.
Cosplaying a statue over there, holding that angle. Love that for him.
Well,
now that no one has peeked, like, this is our time to maybe approach him a different way.
yeah, I mean, again, Joner is trying to kind of deny some value here, and he knows the extract that has to be taken is going to go off in 3 minutes and 20 seconds. So kind of rerouting for a different angle he might be able to find onto the extract. Although, since he is running a little bit closer towards the middle of the map, Ink will probably hear him at some point while he's making this rotation. Although he might hear them too. But it doesn't look like he has yet. Oh my gosh, wait, is Too Easy kind of peeking out from the top of middle right now? We're seeing the staircase. Too Easy's right over there laying down. Wait.
He's definitely prone.
He's got to be in the staircase, right? Okay,
Ooh,
gets the
nice
first knock on the Baby B as he's falling down. Too Easy now left in a 1v1 situation. The swarm kind of comes out right now. This should lead the charge for Joner. If it ever hits, I don't think it did. He thinks the player's in the chokehold right there. Too Easy swings out. He clips the edge of the thrown toxic smoke, and I can only imagine what his screen looked like. Completely blind. And that's going to be the
nicely done. Nicely done. I love the reposition. Maybe, like you said, kind of moving towards that middle map, getting to the high ground, allowing you to overlook the cross, and just kind of biding their time. Sure. Now, you pick up 2 more kills, an extra 600k Technic Alloy just associated with that, and you have to think your plan, kind of sending Skies out early in both matches 5 and 6, will pay dividends, but we've pretty much locked it in, right? Because they don't know. We know that they've locked it in, and you're hitting a nice little extract.
Yep, gonna be getting the extract here. Black and yellow with the total assets accumulating up to 18 million on the left side over there. They are without a doubt taking a little bit of a victory lap here. Joner's gonna be doing it solo, but he's gonna be doing it nonetheless. First place during the semifinals here in NA is gonna be black and yellow.
Look, nice job for them, making sure that they net themselves a ticket into the regional finals. Of course, we did see, I believe it was SJC to get it done in 4 matches with 2 MandelBricks from Group B and a couple of MandelBricks spread throughout 3 teams here. Now you have to think back to our first initial match where no one was able to net themselves a MandelBrick. Things definitely could have changed for the rest of our lobby, but kept things super interesting though, Vivid.
Yeah, I mean, it did, right? It did mix things up. You can only imagine if that MandelBrick was actually secured by any of our teams. I kind of would have switched up that, pseudo 5th place spot that we've kind of been talking about, right? That one would have been up for grabs right there. But big shout out to kind of AKA. I feel like throughout the day, they kind of struggled to get themselves involved with any of the MandelBricks. And then when it mattered the most, right? Match number 6, they went ahead. They instantly took it. No more messing around. No more kind of laying over here, laying over there. They got right into the mix and nobody kind of was interested in stopping them from pulling off that play.
No, definitely not. As we look back towards the replays, not a lot of people left at the end of this match and some good initial fights, especially with some of these angles that we're witnessing. Serial killers, though, wanted to make a play for the MandelBrick on the decoding side of things, but they kind of got into this early fight. Crisp gets ripped apart, and even though January is able to dive out of the way of the mollies, kind of re-peeks and picks up another knock and full. Impressive performances.
Some of the kills that we're kind of seeing right now. Joner kind of laying down right there to kind of pick it up. January kind of still sitting on the MandelBrick, which is an incredible play. It didn't necessarily have as much impact, but I remember watching Sing Song kind of pull up a similar play to where he just kind of hung out on the decode station in that same exact spot and found some value from it. But, once again, Joner, it wasn't necessarily a short battle, but he did pull off the 1v3 against Ink in the end, as he was the last one left alive as his teammates kind of extracted and/or were eliminated from the match. But we already talked about it, Tiff. Black and yellow, the winners.
They definitely did everything that they needed to do. Now it's just waiting to get the scores all tallied to see just what that looks like for Group A. You guys already kind of got Group B just 35 minutes or so ago before we got into match number 6. So you know what that one finished out as, with the team taking those 2 MandelBricks to end it out early, which really kind of point sponged. It didn't allow momentum for our other teams to really build up any kind of significant total asset value, which is tough, right? Because if we're going to take that next highest asset value and no one was able to get their bearings together, then everything kind of sets to Group A, the one that we got to witness on broadcast, to send 3 teams to the regional finals happening next weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. And it will be kind of interesting to see the scores after they are kind of all tallied up overall throughout the entirety of the day. Obviously, we kept looking at the assets, and shout out to kind of everybody and how they played, because the assets were close throughout the entirety of the day, right? Just obviously the MandelBricks were the things that kind of made the difference in the end, which is no surprise, right, Tiff? I mean, those are the things that are worth the most, and it's no surprise that they were the ones that made the difference.
Yeah, I'm trying to think about it as well, right? Match number 5 could have been out so different, but I love that Ink and Black and Yellow were able to deny anyone from netting themselves a MandelBrick, but AKA really amped up the pace and made light work of the decoding. I'm actually shocked at how quick they were able to obtain that. I don't believe that other people were kind of thinking that someone was just going to let them waltz on and get it decoded, that someone else was going to push it. So they had time to get there, but unfortunately that's not how it played out.
Yeah, I mean, shout out to them as well, because I feel like it probably took a little bit of mental fortitude. I mean, honestly, we saw how rough their first 5 games were. Yeah, they had some highlights here and there, but in terms of kind of getting involved in the MandelBrick, it seemed impossible for them. Every single time they tried to get into the mix, they were taken out. And they kind of decided in match number 6, hey, listen, we kind of got a full reset going here, try something else out, go for maybe the instant grab of the MandelBrick. Again, mental fortitude there, because the MandelBrick strategy wasn't working out for them in the first 5, but in the end, it ended up working out beautifully.
Yeah, they finally were just like, all right, fine, we're going to do it ourselves. Because you have to think back to our 0 damn game. Not only did they sit on the extraction point early on without even flipping the lever, they were like, someone's going to do it. right? Then you gotta talk about the crocodile moment. Sure, that happened. We still get extract via the 2 dog tags up in the Tower of Babel. So it has been a roller coaster for that AKA roster, but it has been a joy to kind of witness the journey throughout.
Yeah, definitely. And what a fun day of Delta Force in general, right? Getting the opportunity to watch 12 matches in total with you, Tiff. They were pretty fun. You know, I only kind of had one gripe, and that was match number 5 on NA, but we already kind of talked about that. But yeah, I mean, action packed. We've got highlights to remember for sure. And I feel like this weekend will set things up very, very nicely for next weekend, right? I feel like there's going to be a lot to talk about, how teams kind of qualified for each one of their individual groups, kind of play styles that we see, comps that some of our teams might want to talk about, but a full week to kind of reset and gear up for those finals next week. Should be plenty of time for our teams to prepare for that.
Yeah, let me just tell you, if I'm gearing up for the regional finals, the first thing I'm doing is I'm VOD reviewing. I'm looking to see like what kind of strategies people are taking dependent upon their spawn points, of course, but you got the different regions. They've played out completely different. And if you're playing the long game for that Delta Force Invitational and all of those 8 regions coming together, you can expect all the different play styles to be really interesting, but you have to be able to stay up to date on all the teams that are going to be duking it out on LAN and be able to prepare for absolutely anything.
Yeah, absolutely. And we were kind of talking about it earlier, Tiff, but why don't we go ahead and take a look at the overall scores and see kind of how match 6 panned out.
I'm ready because it was incredibly close throughout all of our matches. And as you can see, sure, we get the MandelBrick for AK, and that's all that matters. They took a negative 2.2 mil, but they procured a MandelBrick. So W for that. Black and yellow go up 2.9 mil. And then, well, they're the only ones that were actually positive that game. So it was a kind of weird for us.
Yeah, kind of like all-in strategy, right? Nobody kind of making it out of that one. Nobody able to fill their safe boxes up at all. But ultimately, we know that didn't necessarily matter. It was all or nothing for the MandelBrick, which is kind of reflected for sure on the total assets of things. Obviously, we kind of know how things are going to kind of pan out on the leaderboard, but it will be interesting to kind of take a quick peek at this before we kind of head out. And, you know, once again, boom, black and yellow secured the MandelBrick. They did end up with the most total assets. So kind of employing that strategy to go ahead and take backpack in games number 5 and 6 did end up working out beautifully for them. They would have won some sort of tiebreaker had it come down to it. Congratulations to black and yellow. Ink, they were the ones that kind of get that first MandelBrick, kind of apply some pressure to the rest of the teams. They ended up holding it down and getting enough assets to go ahead and secure their spot as well. And then AKA, whilst it was only top 2 from the group that would have been qualifying to the finals, we needed one more team. So we were like, hey, listen, whoever performs the best from the 2 groups who did not get top 2, we're also going to go ahead and send them through, and we'll see that here, Steph.
Well, here's that final qualification spot, and see how close it is, man. If AKA doesn't get that MandelBrick, halal enjoyers would likely advance. And even then, serial killers, so close, just 100K back. Dang, that is so tough.
Yeah, I mean, kind of crazy. Again, it just came down to that MandelBrick being so valuable. The clutch moments from AKA there. And hey, listen, we even saw a final push kind of come in from serial killers. They were kind of in the mix right there. If January didn't necessarily slide in and make a play to prevent the MandelBrick from being stolen by serial killers themselves, could have been talking about a completely different story right there. But the clutch from January is found and it is rewarded. They're going to be taking that final qualification spot. And Tiff, before next weekend, why don't we go ahead and take a look at all of the teams that are going to be competing next weekend?
Of course, we knew that we were going to see 5 teams advancing in from the semifinals over towards the regional finals. They're going to be joining that invited team. And I feel like you were talking about Sing Song in particular and some of the plays that you had witnessed. Well, check that out. It's nowhere going to be the invited team alongside equal plays. Now, those are some heavy hitting names in the community of Delta Force operations comp. So we know that the regional finals are going to get mixy. Of course, you do have Group B's SFC and Mengu that are going to be joining us. But Boss 91, Grim and Spades, man, they were lights out over there in Group B.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. It's going to be interesting to kind of see all of these teams, you know, battle it out in a lobby. And really, if we take a step back and kind of look at it today, you know, me and you, Tiff, we really only got to see, you know, 3 of these teams actually compete today, right? We saw Ink, we saw Black and Yellow, and then we saw AKA. So kind of going into next weekend, we got no idea what kind of impact you know, It's Nowhere's team is going to have, Mango's team is going to have, I mean, SFC, I would imagine that their impact is going to be taking MandelBricks, because apparently they're pretty good at that. But, you know, when the whole lobby is kind of put together, we'll have to see how that one pans out.
All I'm thinking of is what's going to be in that Delta Force Invitational land, because if SFC makes it and contends against MandelBrick Addiction, we are going to have some races that are going to be crazy trying to get to that decoding station and defending it. But Vivid, it's been an insane day alongside you, commentating all the action, bringing your knowledge and love for the game and community. Has been so fun to be alongside. So I've got to kick it over to you. Now that you've seen EU, we've finished NA, kind of your overarching thoughts from the day.
Yeah, I mean, Delta Force is super fun to play. Checking out the tournament, being hands-on today alongside Tiff was super fun. Shout out to the Delta Force community for kind of, you know, being receptive to my presence here on the cast. Hope I did it justice. Shout out to everybody behind the scenes for putting on a smooth show. And shout out to all of our competitors as well for competing throughout the day. And most, of course, shout out to Tiff for being my partner in crime throughout the day.
I'm just gonna sit here like this. Let me just tell you, no, but it's been a blast. Thank you so much. I hope you have an amazing rest of your evening. But we really have to set our sights forward now, because job's not done in terms of getting to the Delta Force Invitational LAN in September, which quite frankly is just next month. We are literally underway getting there, but our regional semifinals, they're done, they're dusted. Look forward to the regional finals that are going to be happening next weekend. Saturday, same time, same place. We're going to be live all over, streaming this on the major socials that you can get that too. And make sure that you guys are following us on social media at DeltaForce_game everywhere on major socials to keep up tabs on this, because we have so much more action to come as we follow our journey to LAN to compete for $500,000. But that's all for the NA regional semifinals. We'll catch you guys next weekend.
Right now, Ink's gonna be walking right into the angle. Infant Baby with a great jiggle peek, with a quick and a hallway ahead of them with a Seniva at the forefront of this battle. This should be an easy cleanup for
Might potentially try to get involved here if they can.
Yeah, actually already did. Found a third party though. Ink was kind of set up in the building. They had 3 players over there, and that quickly is going to turn.
And Co, they're trying to kind of use the strength in numbers. Lacto already down. Headshot gets a trade. Picks up fun and easy. So it might be more difficult to take this fight, but we've seen Infant Baby be hit for Ink. Now, mind you, this is just for the extra kind of...
Being on the knocks does not have a ton of utility to kind of flush them out. The swing comes in from Infinite Baby for it to subside. And now they're kind of interested in pushing. KA is looking to put on the full onslaught. January takes the first peek, first point of contact. He goes down.
Do I dare say that Baby B is just a clutch factor here, but... Not done. Not done. The
Mary's going to be crouching, trying not to make any noise, but I'm pretty sure he just did. Did he not? Winner pulls out.
Data Swarm coming on in, and Crisp. All 3 up. Suryasha definitely. The sandwich could come through, and black and yellow.
2 opponents towards the bottom of the staircase. He's got an angle right now. Suryasha's going to be knocked right there. That's going to leave 1 player left alive. In fun for the smoke to go ahead and fade so he can pick up the elimination. He sends the rocket at the wall. That's going to
preferential for them, but lose out on this one. Not aggro enough, but maybe we can get...
Doesn't tick down to 1 HP. The swing comes in from too easy. The smoke makes everything so chaotic. Kills. How goes... What? Is actually going to be black and yellow, but on the other side of things, Hero Killer's finally making the move into the middle right now. Spot, but finally, 60 MG. He's going to be pulling out the smoke right now. He's going to be pushing towards the Mandel. Kind of picking and prodding towards Ink as Too Easy jumps out. Jumps up, looks for the angle. Fun. Opting to go ahead and finally take the gun.
Teams make a play for it. You can see black and yellow starting to rotate in. Suryasha down from the molly's not going to connect, and maybe throwing the triple blaster down the waist.
He does. He gets the knock. The decode is absolutely stopped. I think that's all but... Fun FPS is trying to go ahead and put together quite a fight. Ooh.
He's definitely prone.
He's got to be in the staircase, right? Lead the charge for Zoner. If it ever hits, I don't think it did. He thinks the player's in the chokehold right